Welcome back, everyone. We are back for round six of the Pokemon TCG Regional Championships here in Sydney, Australia. As mentioned before, I am your co-host, Krishna Asbani, and I'm joined by, as the mentioned, lovely Jeremy Evans. We have a really great round up for us. We have Keegan Burt versus former world champion Henry Brand. What do you know about this so far, Jeremy?
I know this is going to be an exciting matchup. I know roughly I know what Henry's playing. I don't know what Keegan's playing, but I do know this is going to be a game that you're definitely going to want to watch. Both players are very knowledgeable, very good players, and with very extensive records behind them. So we've got Henry Brand on the right-hand side, and we've got Keegan Burt on the left-hand side. It looks like they're just setting up right now, and it's going to be a very exciting game, I believe. What do you think?
I did mention earlier, I was a big fan, or I am a big fan of Henry Brand's decision to put Rare Candy as a one-off in his Dragapult list. I think this has potentially, if he has kept with this, has led him to continue the success with a 5-0 record going into this tournament. You couldn't think of a better start, right?
Exactly, 5-0. So Henry and Keegan both have won five rounds out of 5 so far, have not lost or tied any, which means they have a really easy shot into their day 2 run. And if they keep going well, into potentially a top 8.
Here we go. We get the ball rolling, and I see a Pidgey and a Bidoof.
I believe this is going to be a Charizard Pidgeot deck versus potentially a Dragapult. Definitely a Dragapult Dusknoir deck. So it looks like Keegan starts with an S-Ball, searching your deck for a basic Pokemon and puts straight on your bench. Fantastic card to set up. And as always, with the first deck search, making sure he's finding out what his prizes are. Very important to do early in the game.
I think from this initial deck search, there's a lot of really interesting cards in Keegan's deck. Is that a Sparkling Crystal and a Water Energy?
Yep. So I almost think this is going to be maybe a Terapagos, maybe.
Oh, maybe Terapagos, but maybe it's still Zard, Lord Terapagos, Zard combination. And with that Wellspring Ogerpon, this could be something really worrying for Henry to deal with. That Wellspring, if it pops off early, can really take out, I think, 2 Dracloaks. That would be a problematic situation for him.
Absolutely. It goes over to Henry's turn, using a Buddy Poffin straight away. Searching deck for 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less to put straight on the bench. Fantastic consistency card, especially for these decks with evolution Pokemon with a lot of basics. I do think Henry does have to be careful, only seeing 2 Hoot and 2 Pidgeys on the field, plus the Fan Rotom. So it doesn't really indicate too much of what Keegan is actually playing here. There's no real outlier like Charmander on the field. Say, yeah, I'm playing Charizard.
Yeah, for now, Henry just goes with that very, very powerful Itchy Pollen to shut down Keegan from getting into that Pidgeot. But I imagine in a deck like this, in a field of Item Lock, he probably has a Pidgeotto somewhere in there. If he can get that going under Item Lock, oh, here we go. This is a way around that Item Lock. We have the Dawn coming down.
So Dawn lets you, with my understanding, search your deck for a item card, a tool card, and a basic Pokemon
in stage 1. Basic Pokemon stage 1, stage 2. Very powerful card.
Absolutely. Basically meaning Keegan can search for a variety of Pokemon to really set up. And there's the Noctowl with an amazing ability to be able to search your deck for 2 item cards.
You definitely won't be looking to use that Noctowl straight away at this point under Item Lock, and he has used a supporter here. So I think you'll be looking to just set up his board state and try and put himself in the best position. But if possible, if there is a way to get that Rotom into the active, he could actually potentially take out that Bidoof with a combination of a Stadium and an Energy. So let's just see what Keegan can pull out here.
He would definitely have to retreat this Pidgey from the active, and not being able to Rare Candy into a Pidgeot definitely does put a problem in that plan. Pidgeot having that free retreat aspect to it, and Pidgey does only need 1 energy to be able to retreat, but unfortunately not being able to attach 2 energies in your turn without cards letting you do so would put a crimp in this plan. So that Itchy Pollen definitely coming into play very, very strong.
it looks like there is a stoppage in play, or Keegan is very much thinking. Yeah, I wonder what's going through Keegan's mind here. You know, you're staring in the face of item lock, and it shouldn't be a stranger to this, but that Wellspring Ogerpon comes down. Will it be a more tame affair of taking his time here? Oh, there it is. There is a Jet Energy in Keegan's hand. This is a really great opportunity, and he will be able to bring up this Rotom right now and take this first KO on the Badoo. Henry must feel the pressure at this point with such a good start from Keegan.
Absolutely. Being able to play that stadium down, if you have a Terra Pokemon in play, you're allowed to have up to 8 bench Pokemon. So it goes over to Henry, promoting that Duskull and playing down that Dracloak, using that ability to be able to look at the top 2 cards and put one into your hand. Definitely tries to help him set up his board state a little bit more. But definitely, it's very worrying having that Wellspring Ogerpon on the bench, just staring right there, ready to go.
Yeah, and with the incredible ability of the Noctowls here, it is something that Henry needs to worry about. It wouldn't be too hard to chain a combination of resources here that could put Keegan in position with combination of Sparkling Crystal and Crispin could potentially take 2 prizes next turn and put Henry even further on the back foot. I'm sure Henry would be looking to get that Badoo down again, if possible, to apply that pressure again. He could potentially evolve into that Dusclops and take out that Pidgey to commence that item lock again, but I'm unsure about what he can do here at this point. It'll be really interesting.
Absolutely, and Henry using Lily's Determination to shuffle his hand into his deck to draw 8 cards because he has not taken a single prize card yet. Very, very strong, and then being able to use Recon Directive on that Dracloak to be able to look for another 2 cards. That's 9 cards in his second turn. That is really good. And there's the Bidoof, as well as another Dreepy. Touches the Luminous Energy to be able to retreat, and it looks like it's going to be most likely another Itchy Pollen.
Yeah, and Henry, a very key card that he played last turn was that Jamming Tower that will turn off that Sparkling Crystal. But I think with the combination ahead, it might be difficult for Keegan to pull this all off. But when there are Noctowls in your deck and Terra Poker on the field, anything is possible with the power of that kind of card. Yeah, Keegan immediately searching for that Area 0 Underground, and potentially, I imagine, going for that Sparkling Crystal Crispin combo. The Water Energy is in hand. What will he do here? I imagine he might target something like the Duskull to take away Henry's agency of taking out multiple Pokemon here.
I agree, and especially having that stadium there, allowing that Rotom to be able to attack again, doing that 70 damage, definitely puts that play in effect. I would imagine that would be where Keegan's trying to limit Henry from being able to get that additional damage on the field, getting rid of that Duskull. Very, very strong plays here.
I think instead he's looking for an alternative play here. He grabbed the boss's orders there. It'd be interesting to see, and there's the Charmander down, revealing to Henry what Keegan has in his deck. Keegan has a plethora of options to respond here. It'll be interesting to see. He just takes out the Badoo. Grab the boss's orders preemptively. I think he just had to find another card to grab with Area 0 and apply the pressure to maybe force Henry into something like an Iono here. But those 2 Pidgeys are looking very susceptible. If Henry can grab that Neo Upper Energy and a catcher or boss here in combination with a Dragapult EX, he can take out both those Pidgeys and take control of this game.
I don't think. I think he put the Neo Upper back onto the bottom of his deck with that Recon Directive, it looked like. So he might have another plan. I don't know. Touching the Fire Energy to the active, and then using a Counter Catcher. Counter Catcher when a Pokemon's when you're behind in prizes, you can gust up one of your opponent's Pokemon, and then uses that powerful Iono. Like you said, he was definitely getting forced to play that pretty early. We'll see what he draws. I don't know if there's a way if Henry can actually get another energy onto the Dragapult this turn.
I don't think that's what we need. He's just looking to have that Jet Punch into the Hoot Hoot and take away the agency from Keegan. Keegan will have to potentially draw a crazy combo here in response here. So a very switched on move when you don't have access to that Neo Upper Energy. So I would imagine that Keegan would have to hit a combination of a Rare Candy Pidgeot or another Buddy Poffin with the Hoot Hoot. So it looks like Henry is taking this game back into control here.
Very strong plays with the Recon Directive, being able to look at the top 2 cards. getting those the specific ones you want. Looked like, I don't know what he got from that, but I'd imagine it would have been strong. And takes the first knockout on Henry Brand's side with Dragapult's first attack.
Keegan will need to have a pretty fortunate response here with no Hoot Hoots on the field. That is the center point of his deck. But if he can somehow put together this Pidgeot, I imagine he might go for something like Pheasantipity here. There we go. Brings it to the front of his deck. He needs to see those 3 cards and hopefully hit that rare candy Pidgeot.
That Nest Ball being such a powerful item card, with no Budu in play, being able to play those at will. And that Pheasantipity, I almost guarantee you, flip the script is just about to happen. And we'll see if he draws the perfect combo of cards he needs.
Yeah, if he can chain that rare candy Pidgeot, I'm sure it can open up the rest of the game for him. And then he can go on the aggressive either with that Wellspring Ogerpon or potentially get into a Charizard. And there still is the option that Rotom, maybe even chase down that Duskull if he can. There's a Buddy Poffin drawn, another Charmander. Looks like there's not a lot to play with here.
It looks like definitely using Night Stretcher. Get a Pokemon out of your discard pile to your hand, or a basic energy. It goes for the Hoot Hoot, which I think is a very, very solid play, being able to turn that knocked out online for the following turn. And that looks like a Charmeleon evolved from Charmander, definitely threatening that Charizard play for the following turn. Really cool thing that Keegan might be able to do is actually get that Charizard online or use the energy to power up the Wellspring Ogerpon, since it already has that water energy on it.
This is true. I think it would be great to
So it looks like Henry is using the Recon Directive right now. And currently right now, he's selected the specific card. I think he's really just trying to find that Psychic Energy. Another Recon Directive is played. See what he gets. These moments I definitely think are very important things you have to slow down and make your decision, which Henry is definitely knows what he's doing in this way. Plays that Psychic Energy, and just so that means that Phantom Dive is online. What do you think, Christian?
Henry has a plethora of options here. He could go into that Pheasantipity and gust it up and put that 200 damage to set up for a board wipe, or he can actually take out that Hoot Hoot. Here, he also still has the option at Duskull and bench. He might want to get that into a Duskull spinner to add that option of Dusknoll. But as mentioned earlier, that rare candy could come into play. It looks like he's just Phantom Diving. He's putting on a Hulucha here. I think there we go. He's going for the 3-prize turn and putting all the pressure onto Keegan right now. It looks like Keegan will have a bit of an uphill battle from this point, especially if Henry can utilize that Duskull on the bench.
Very, very strong plays from Henry there. Taking those 3 prizes in that turn, only going down to 2 prizes left on his third turn. Such a powerful plays and such a strong deck. Goes over to Keegan. I'm really, really interested to see how Keegan comes back from this. That Charizard, though, being much more stronger for every prize card Henry has taken. That Charizard does 30 more damage. So that's a lot of damage that Charizard can do right now. Which I believe would be able to take a knockout using the ability of Charizard. Search your deck for 3 fire energies and touch them to your Pokemon in any way you like once you evolve it. So that's Charizard looks like it's online, and that Wellspring Ogerpon is definitely halfway there to being a viable threat. Wonder how this is going to go for Keegan.
Yeah, Keegan will be looking to take this knockout on the active Dragapult and then hopefully set up for that Wellspring KO the next turn to finish off the game. However, he does play a Dawn here, which isn't disruption. I imagine Henry has built up a few cards here, and all Henry needs at this point is a Dragapult. He needs a Dragapult, a Neo Upper Energy, and then potentially just a Dusclops, and the game could be over if he's able to gust up that Wellspring Ogerpon here.
Depending how many cards is in that hand, I think there's a solid chance that at least half those cards he needs is there. But the turn is not over yet for Keegan, and we'll see what Keegan decides to do. He does evolve into the Pidgeotto, which is very strong, means Henry would need a little bit more damage to be able to take a knockout with that if he was trying to aim that down. Goes into the Dracloak. No.
Henry could actually, the other alternative is, as that Pidgey on the bench does have 10 damage on it, Henry could pop a Dusclops, KO that Pidgey, and then use Phantom Dive in combination with the Neo Upper Energy and take out the other Pidgey to claim his last 2 prizes.
This is definitely a very strong game on both parts. They both know these decks inside and out. It looks like they're both playing very, very well. Henry using all the recon directives on his turn, getting the Night Stretch to get that Dragapult. Neo Upper, does he have it? That's the boss.
Yep, there's the game. He has the boss, and he can do the Phantom Dive, taking out one of those Pidgeys again.
So that game 1 goes to Henry Brand. Fantastic plays there, and that Phantom Dive showing how strong that is. Fantastic plays there from Henry and Keegan. Keegan did look like he had a very strong start, but unfortunately with Bidoof slowing the deck down, I do think that did hinder his setup a little bit too long before Henry got set up.
Yeah, Keegan having no disruption there at the end to really put Henry's momentum off there, as Henry got to use 3 different Dracloaks to advance his hand and board position and eventually pull out a combo. Henry had the options and he needs to restrict it, but Keegan could not do that. It shows that early aggression, as Jeremy mentioned, that Bidoof did his job in the first 2 turns there.
It's amazing that a Pokemon with only 30 HP that has no retreat cost and no energy cost to attack is so key in a game like this. And it's amazing how many decks do revolve around. It looks like Keegan's starting with a Pidgey. And
another Bidoof, much of the same as last game. Keegan goes first this time, hopefully able to set a good board position. I guess the Pidgeys won't be an option this game with such early aggression with these Bidoofs. Hopefully a better board position can be set up and those stage 2s can come down, and hopefully those Hoots don't get taken out early as well.
I completely agree. But I think the right play for Keegan right now is doing exactly what he's doing, is using all of his items as soon as he can before they just get stopped. And having that Fan Rotom as well, that's what he's looking for, being able to use the ability of it to search your deck for 3 colorless Pokemon, put onto your bench is so strong for a setup. Just means 1 Ultra Ball just sets up your bench really, really quickly. Using the ability, search for 1 Hoot. I would imagine there would be another Pidgey and potentially another Hoot.
Yeah, it'll be 2 Hoots and a Noctowl there, essentially setting himself up to respond under item lock in the next turn. But that Jet Energy was discarded, so I hope potentially Keegan has another one in hand, or maybe there'll be an alternative strategy, a slower strategy put into the game, and avoid the access to things like Counter Catcher for Henry.
Absolutely. Fantastic play there, especially when you're automatically threatened under the Bidoof lock. We're just looking to see if Henry can set up his board with that Buddy Poffin. He definitely can. I think it's definitely going to be going for 1 Droopy and 1 Duskull here. But definitely taking his time, definitely to make sure he is doing the right plays for himself. Definitely think he's definitely going to make the right decision in this way.
Yeah, much of the same game plan for Henry here, I imagine. It'll be interesting to see if Keegan wants to go on a different route, as it seems that is potentially the logic that's happening right now. Hopefully he has what he needs in hand to respond. Otherwise, we might see much of the same here.
Absolutely. So Henry going for the double Droopy. I do like this play a lot as well, because having that, I had the Duskull in hand, having the Recon Directive online as soon as your second turn is just so strong. Cycling through your deck does go back over to Keegan, and Keegan does get Itchy Pollen, so no items, but Adorn has just been played. So search your deck for a basic stage 1 and a stage 2. Wonder what he's going to get. If he's going to try to go the same route as the Wellspring Ogerpon way, or if he's going to try to go a little bit different, maybe a Charmander, to be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more aggressive. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it'll be really interesting from Keegan here. I think maybe going that aggressive with Rotom might not be the correct decision in the end. You could potentially slowly charge up that Wellspring Ogerpon and go for a more aggressive boss route, as Henry most likely will need a few turns to set up to get those Dragapults online. So that would probably be the best route of action here. But he does have the Pidgeotto, which has just entered play, something he really missed last game. But if he can get that Pidgeot online, I'm sure we'll see a much different game here.
Absolutely. Being able to search your deck for any card is just so strong. And definitely will put a lot of pressure on Henry to be able to either eliminate that from the field or try to just power up as quickly as possible. It does look like it goes over to Henry, is it? Or was that an Iona that was played?
I think Keegan is going in for the sob, as Pidgeotto does have that free retreat. So now Henry can't get the Budavi active. I'm not sure he really would have wanted to at this point. I think he'll be asking a lot to get a Dragapult attack here, using his first recon directive. It looks like he's churning over that one. I think I potentially saw a Neo Upper in there, which would make a difficult decision, and maybe something, what else in that hand as well.
If he does get that online and is able to somehow get the Bidu out of the active, has a Hawlucha in his hand, which I could imagine that would be very detrimental in this turn. There's the Ultra Ball.
I don't think he'd be able to get that Dragapult online, but I guess with that rare candy, you never know. But I think his main goal here would be to get another Dreepy on the field and hope that Keegan can't get that combo with potentially the Crispin.
Absolutely. Such a powerful play, being able to power up that Wellspring Ogerpon very, very quickly. And Henry does go for the Dusknoir with that Ultra Ball, discarding a Dusclops and using that rare candy to be able to evolve, and then discarding it with its ability to knock out the Pidgeot with that Curse Blast ability. This is very, very powerful. Being able to put, I think it's 130 damage on one of your opponent's Pokemon, or 13 damage counters. That is so strong. And then uses Boss's Orders to be able to gust up one of the Hoots. Very, very powerful plays.
Yeah, I guess Keegan doesn't have access to Counter Catcher, so both those Dracloak and Dreepy will be safe. But in the ideal situation here, you think he'll be chasing that Dracloak with the Wellspring Ogerpon if possible. If he has another, I wonder if he has another Jet Energy in hand, because that's what's needed to get into the active here and pull off that play. But maybe he'll have regretted discarding that one earlier in the game. He's eyeing up a rare candy, but I don't think that's going to be an option under the Itchy Pollen. So yeah, we have to see what's going through his head now. Oh, it's a Water Energy. Oh, that's got the rare candy.
Does get it. So he's probably waiting for the following turn, building up his hand.
He also could attach a Waterford hand if he has it as well here.
Yeah. And so that's that knocked out in the active. Should be able to take a knockout if he does touch another energy.
No, I think he's going to go into the Wellspring Ogerpon because he has the Sparkling Crystal already on it.
Yeah, very true.
So if he has the water in hand, he'll be able to take out potentially that Dracloak and the Bidoof, putting Henry in a very precarious position going into the rest of the game.
That's a very strong play on Keegan's part. We'll see what he does. Does he have another energy in his hand?
Oh, no, he's just going for this. He doesn't have another energy in hand. No. As I mentioned before, he very much would have regretted getting rid of that Jet Energy early in the game. If he had had that, I think he would have had the upper hand here and be able to take this game from Henry.
Absolutely. But we can't look too far back now. Henry still does need to be able to get another Fire Energy as well as a Dragapult to be able to put this pressure on the field. Using Ultra Ball to get the Pheasantipity to be able to flip the script, I think is very, very strong on this way. Just really needing those two cards to be able to advance this game state. Goes for a Hilda. Fantastic card.
Another very strong card with a similar effect to Dawn. Henry can grab here another evolution Pokemon and an energy and put himself into the driver's seat for the remainder of the game here. I think if he gets a Dragapult online, it's going to be a very uphill battle for Keegan here.
Absolutely. Using another Recon Directive. Selecting, I didn't see the card he selected. But there's a Dragapult, there's a Fire Energy that we just mentioned. Using a Phantom Dive, 200, and I wonder where he's going to put the 6 damage counters. If not, I would imagine it would be maybe the Hoot.
I could imagine maybe a 1 on the Rotom to put in that range of a KO later, or it could be potentially the Charmander as well. Is deciding right now. Could be the 6 on the Rotom, or is it 1?
I think that's a 1. Yeah, it's definitely a 1.
this is a very tough decision to make, because if Keegan doesn't activate this, he's essentially putting Keegan under pressure to activate this Noctowl right now and get the Hoot off.
And if he doesn't, that would be a very, very easy knockout for Henry in his next turn. So a lot of pressure is being put on Keegan, but Keegan being 5-0, we definitely know he can come out of this. Using that rare candy to come into that Charizard, to use his ability to be able to search the deck for 3 fire energies. Fantastic ability to be able to set off. So I would imagine 2 of them would easily be going on the Charizard. I wonder where the other one's going to go. Oh, yep.
Interesting. I think Keegan does have to go on the aggression here and potentially use that Wellspring Ogerpon's attack right now to get rid of that Dracloak. That'll put Henry in a really tough position where Henry would have to put down the Dreepies. But we have seen a lot of Dragapult lists that there is the finisher of the Ursaluna as well as an option. So maybe it'll be a bit too much for Keegan here, but the option is there. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to go with it.
Absolutely. And so it looks like Keegan uses an Escort. Unfortunately, due to the lighting, I can't actually see what that is.
I think that could be a Duskull.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a Duskull as well, but we'll see in the future. Yep, it is a Duskull. That is awesome. So he does evolve his Hoot into the Noctowl to be able to use its ability to be able to search your deck for 2 trainer cards.
2 trainer cards, yes, indeed. Could be anything from an item, tool, and support, or supporter. So it'll be interesting to see what Keegan has here. Potentially a way to get that water energy back. Could put him more on the front foot, but he's staring in the face of Henry taking multiple prizes next turn. I imagine Henry can potentially gust and activate that whole Lucha, taking out the Wellspring Ogerpon with it. And then I imagine Henry would do something like chase down that Duskull as well with the Phantom Tithe and the 6 damage counters.
Absolutely, and it looks like Keegan grabbed Boss's Orders as well as Buddy Poffin to be able to search his deck for the 2 Pokemon. So he does bench them? No, maybe not. Okay, yep. So he's playing the stadium and then using the Buddy Poffin. Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. Because without that stadium, you only can have up to 5 bench Pokemon, but with that stadium, Keegan can have up to 8. Fantastic stadium, and definitely can put in a lot of pressure. Staring down all that plethora of Pokemon from your opponent is just it's very big.
I think he really has to chase his Dracloak right now. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough with 2 Dragapult on the field. But Henry also might be hesitant to evolve due to that really strong Recon Directive. But here we go. As said,
using the Wellspring Ogerpon's attack to be able to do 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. 1 being the active and 1 being on the bench. It's just such a strong attack, especially being not being able to rare candy multiple Pokemon in this format. It's just a lot of decks not playing it.
I'm sure Henry will be looking for a big multiple prize turn here, potentially up to 3. He has to really get rid of that Duskull that's looking in the face, but he will have the combination of the Holucha potentially, and there is that Blood Moon Ursaluna ready to respond. If Henry can take 4 prizes next turn, then Keegan will be put in a really tough position here with that Ursaluna staring in the face that can KO anything on his bench other than the Charizard.
It's very, very strong position, especially with that Iono that was just played. Very, very strong disruption this late into the game as well, because Keegan needs almost a perfect combination of cards to be able to potentially take this game. So limiting his hand down to a low amount of cards is a very, very strong play on Henry's part. Henry does look like he's just deciding what he wants to do. He has used that Pheasantipity. He's flipped the script to draw 3. And so he does use the Buddy Poffin. So it looks like he does want to set up a few more, maybe get another Duskull on the bench, maybe just another Dreepy, or even just to search the deck. Sometimes that is very important, just to use an item card to search the deck to see what you still have. Looks like it's a Budu and a Dreepy, so maybe getting him into a stall so he can power something else up might be what he's doing late game. But
I'm also not opposed from Henry here from just taking the 3 prizes, that if Keegan does play something like an Iono, it won't put Henry in a more awkward position later down the line. But yeah, Keegan has to deal with this Dragapult staring him in the face. I know it could be seen as safer to take that Pheasantipity, but the Dragapult just has so many options to take things on the bench right now. But Henry is being more conservative, identifying that Keegan has to do that right now.
Yep, and using that Itchy Pollen. This is a very, very smart play. Itchy Pollen knocking out a Wellspring Ogerpon for 10 damage. That is awesome. You don't get to see that very often, everybody. That is such an awesome play to see. Lock being in play now, it does put a lot of pressure on Keegan. So Keegan now only having, I think it would be 4 cards in his hand with that draw, putting down the Dusclops. Okay, so definitely has that pressure on the Pokemon there to see what he can do.
Oh, Keegan was so close there. If he just had the boss's orders, he could have taken the game.
All right, using that Iono to also limit the cards for Henry. Another really strong play. Use it, popping the Dusclops to knock out the Budu in the active. So they both go down to 2 prize cards. So this means if Keegan can somehow take a knockout on the EX, it's over.
I fear it is all but too late. All that Henry needs in return is that Gus, and I think it's game over.
Henry using a Nest Ball. Let's see what he searches. Maybe it's just for the deck search. For the Monkey Dory.
I also believe Keegan is down to 1 prize, which means that the counter catcher is now live, correct?
Yes, definitely. Looking for that Latias. Very, very strong card, allowing all your basic Pokemon in play to have free retreat.
Henry is trying to thin his deck as much as possible. He just needs this Gus, and it's game over. There it is. And he closes the game out just like that with that switched on damage counters on the Noctowl and Rotom early in the game coming to fruition, and he can take the game himself here.
What a fantastic play on Henry's part to be able to take that multi-prize knockout right at the end. That was a very, very strong play on Henry's part, and that was an awesome game to watch. You don't often see Budu taking a knockout on a Wellspring Ogerpon, but that has to be my favorite part of that set. That was awesome.
I think that was really awesome because we were just talking about all the options that Henry had to potentially win that game, and he went beyond anything we could come up with and came up with almost like a semi-guaranteed position they could do it. That Budu set up that board state, and in the end, he was able to thin his deck at the end, use the Pheasantipity, and hit the boss to close the game out. But really great from Keegan there to apply that pressure. And he was so close to taking that game. If he had just had the Gussing option and boss's orders, he would have had game 2.
Absolutely. Very, very well played on Keegan's part as well. A lot of pressure was put straight away with that Budu, though, on both sides. But they both played fantastic. I think that confirms Henry to be into day 2. Being 6 wins,
yes.
Which is congratulations to Henry. And yeah, I can almost guarantee you the next games that are going to be coming up are going to just be as exciting as that one was.
And it's really important for Keegan to come out of that game and really realize that there's still a long way to go. He's going into the next round. He's 5-1. He just needs to keep his head down and keep going. A big part of Pokemon is that mental strength.
Absolutely.
And if Keegan can just push that loss aside and take on the next round, it won't take much for him to get into day 2 as well. And with a deck as cool as that, you really love to see that in day 2.
Absolutely. Pokemon is very much of it's a game where you have to be positive and think, okay, that game may have been rough, but you going into the next one with a positive attitude, you definitely can make a win out of that. So I definitely hope to see Keegan's deck in day 2. That was awesome to see, especially that Wellspring Ogerpon in a Charizard deck. You don't often see that. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, Terrabox is really cool. We'll be wrapping up there for round 6, and we'll be back for round 7 a bit later. And just want to say congratulations, Henry, and good luck to Keegan in the future rounds. It was a great match to watch.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back very shortly with the next round once this round is finished for time. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sydney Regional Championships here for the Pokemon TCG. My name's Mitch Nucky and I'm here with Tom Burke. Tom, we've had a massive day of Pokemon TCG action now in round 7, where all of the games that you've played have built up to this point. It's got to be a really, really difficult time for these players.
Yeah, it's really good to see, the talent that we've had on the stream so far has been pretty good. The games, there's been some moments. We've had some moments.
Definitely, yeah.
But for the last couple of rounds, it'll be really, really good just to see what we can show and just, get some good quality games, see who's going to be making it into that day 2 slot, or potentially we might see some EXO records, some really, really just strong players.
Yeah, absolutely. We're at a point now where every single game matters. And as we jump across to our screen, we have Angus Johnson and Yi Yang Lin, both 4-1-1. So looking for that day 2 berth. Angus Johnson on the right-hand side here. Looks like he's going really well with an Absol EX box with that precious trolley early on to find out all of those basic Pokemon that you need to get this deck working. And it looks like Yi Yang Lin on the left-hand side with Dragapult already having had a turn. That seems like a pretty reasonable start.
Yeah, but Budju in the active, you would have liked to have seen that to deny the precious trolley. Sadly, going first means that you just get to leave him sitting in play in the active. But yeah, a turn 1 going for a precious trolley, you can't really have any complaints on that front. We're going for, it looks like the Turbo Energize there off the Arven. Going to be really important. If you attach an energy, you get to then attach the Turbo Energize and then power up some of your bench Pokemon with 2 energy cards. Really great card, and it's just like a card that gets you into the game as a Absol King player.
Yeah, a really, really strong opening turn here for Angus, and you can see him prioritizing as well the 2 Monkey Dory and the Psyduck to prevent Dragapult from pushing too hard. Angus now drawing a couple of cards with Mega Kangaskhan EX. He's got the Energize. He's got the energy attachment. So realistically, you could ask for nothing more on Absol's side of the board. We do see that Pokegear being played, identifying the fact that Budyu will likely item lock next turn. And now we Turbo Energize into a couple of energies on this Absol. This is a very strong first turn from Angus.
Absolutely textbook. You cannot ask for anything more. We'll have to see what Yi is going to be able to do this next turn. Having that Duskull there is, a little bit unfortunate when you're staring across to a Psyduck with that Damp ability. Damp does stop you from KOing any of your Pokemon on your side of the board, so the Curse Blast will not do anything until that little Psyduck has been dealt with. But we see playing a Professor's Research, discarding the hand, drawing up to 7 cards. We had the energy attached last turn from Yi, so potentially, we're going to be ahead a little bit on energy if we can find another attach and maybe get some more Dreepy into play this turn just to establish a little bit better of a board state.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to see a couple of extra basics on Yi's side of the field, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Just a simple Itchy Pollen, 10 damage onto the Kangaskhan, which will prevent Angus from using items this turn, but it does leave that lone Dreepy on his field quite open to a potential boss knockout. You can see an attachment here from Angus onto Absol, and there's the boss. So this is going to be a very strong start from Angus, taking that knockout and not only getting to take the knockout, but also getting to look at your opponent's hand and discard a card. You can see quite a lot of good cards to target, Iono being the one that Angus seems most interested in at the moment.
Claw of Darkness, fantastic attack. You can never complain about discarding a couple of cards from your opponent's hand once they have no other potentially attacking Mons on their bench. So you're definitely going to be looking across the table and thinking, I've got a couple of turns to play with here. I can get myself a little bit more established. The Budyu still attacking for 10, hitting with the item lock, but I'm still not complaining if I was in Angus's position this turn.
Oh yeah, definitely a really strong spot for him to be in. Yi now going for that Lily's Determination, shuffling his hand into his deck and drawing 8 cards since he's still on 6 prizes remaining. But the critical thing now is he needs to find some way that he can get into Dreepy. Without Dreepy, this Dragapult deck, by definition, is not going to be able to do too much. Thankfully, he does find the Buddy Poffin to give him a couple of Dreepy on the bench. But the real challenge is going to be keeping them from being knocked out. Any energy that he attaches at this point will be easier to target from Angus, considering the fact that Angus is just that little bit further in front.
It's super scary. At the moment, as you said, we've got a couple of Dreepy down. That's the first step. We know that we're a couple of turns behind. So right now, Yi's going to be planning around what he might be able to do to try and draw himself back into this game. Having the Pheasantipity down is still pretty good. It allows you to consistently draw 3 cards if you get knocked out. So you know that on board, right now you have that as a backup. So if you want to continue building up that hand size, finding those cards that you're going to need for the rest of the game, it is really, really strong. We're going in with another Itchy Pollen for 10 damage over onto the Absol, and Angus drawing for turn. Let's see what he can put together.
Yeah, 20 damage thanks to the weakness, which gives Angus a little bit of extra damage to work with this Monkey Dory. You can see him turning it sideways. We're ready to move it. The question is, where does it go? Easily place it on any of these Pokemon, but which of them is the most useful? It looks like we are identifying the Dreepy as the target, and then just simply another attack. We'll take a look at that hand and discard a card. Obviously not as useful when your hand is as large as Yee's is, but still super, super strong and targeting that counter catcher to prevent Yee from gusting later in the game.
It's super, super strong. Being able to just get any information of your opponent's hand that's usually private knowledge is an incredible card in the Pokemon trading card game. It's going to be like really, really good just to gauge where you're going to be at after the end of your turn, to see what you might have to do in the next turn and know exactly what your opponent's going to be trying to put together. We're seeing an Ultra Ball come down here for Yee. I'd imagine he's going to be looking for at least some kind of Dragalope to get into play so he can finally at least approach a Dragapult this turn or at some time in this game. But yes, if he's playing Rare Candies, there's a little bit more of a chance he can go a little bit faster. But right now, the Ultra Ball for the Dracula going to be able to use the Recon Directive. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose one of them to put in your hand, one to the bottom. Great draw engine, but if you can't find the cards that you need off them, well, it's not as good.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right, is that Dracloak coming down now is excellent for consistency, but when you look across the field, Angus has already got everything that he could possibly ask for. He comes a second Dracloak now, ready to give Yee an option to evolve into Dragapult next turn. The question really does become, what is the most effective way for Yee to approach this matchup? I guess the big thing that Yee has going for him is that Angus's attacking Pokemon are worth 3 prizes. So if he can find a way to get some attacks off, then that will obviously stand him in good stead. But Angus has put him on a pretty significant timer here as we shuffle in with another Lily's Determination. And we're going to draw a few extra cards with Pheasantipity as well. It's quite a strict timer now on Yee's side of the field. He needs to get an attacker moving quickly, and that is going to be a little bit difficult right now.
3 prizes is very, very handy when you're taking KOs, but you know, you're only dealing 200 damage with that Phantom Dive. So you're going to have to be hitting most of these Pokemon at least twice to be able to take the 3 prize cards. So with that Psyduck down there, it's really going to be inhibiting you from actually doing one-hit knockouts. So leaving a lot of damage counters on Absol's board is never something that you want to be seeing when they've got a couple of Monkey Dories down, able to throw that damage back your way, just like removing turns from play.
Yeah, and speaking of Monkey Dory, we've got the attachment to Monkey Dory with that energy there, allowing Monkey Dory to attack potentially in the next turn. Obviously, choosing to do that to confuse the Absol could be useful, but it means that you're not attaching to Dragapult, which could come back to bite you. It's just a matter now of whether or not Angus is able to get that Absol out of the active or flip heads to avoid confusion. You're just summing up his hand, and yes, there's the attack. So 60 damage onto Mega Absol, and Angus dutifully turning it upside down to show its confusion.
Yes, with the confusion, you do have to get that heads flip for you to be able to attack again. But this deck does have a Latias, so we would be able to freely be able to retreat back into a bench Pokemon. And all it would take is just like a simple switch or a penny to be able to pick up that active again. So it could be pretty interesting to see, like maybe going into like Kangaskhan, being able to draw some cards with Mine and running, then remove it from play. But we see going in, discarding what looks like a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon with a Earthen Vessel, trying to find us 2 more energies. Can be great just to chuck down onto more of our Monkey Dories, or we could try and lock down another attacker with that Kangaskhan that already has a fighting type energy attached to it, giving us an option for the next turn after.
Yeah, these Monkey Dory are going to be very, very threatening. 2 Monkey Dory in play with Dark Energy is very difficult for Dragapult to deal with. We see that retreat from the Absol now. We're going to move some of that damage off of Monkey Dory onto the benched Dracloak. And now it is a simple energy switch by the looks of things to get that extra damage down onto Dracloak. They're only 10 HP. There's the penny, as you mentioned. We are back in the active with Mega Absol ready to attack again. There's a knockout on the Dracloak with the extra energy in hand. And now we only have one Dracloak in play and 0 energy for Yi. It looks like Angus now, with only 2 prize cards left to take, is in a very commanding position in this game.
We haven't even talked about this second attack of Absol. Not only does it have Claw of Darkness, but next turn we also might be seeing a potential terminal period coming out, which with 1 or 2 Monkey Dories already on Angus's side of the field, if Yi actually, we've just seen a concession.
Well, this is the thing, right? You're talking through what is likely to happen. Yi is thinking the exact same thing. He knows, well, I can't take a knockout. All I'm doing is putting damage on this side of the field. It's coming back and I'm being knocked out. We may as well just shuffle up and head to a second game. And you can see the strength there of Absol Box, just how powerful it can be if it gets everything that it wants. But Yi, this next game, will be looking for that early item lock to prevent the Precious Trolley, prevent all of those Monkey Dories coming down so quickly, and potentially give him some time to start utilizing the damage counters that Dragapult is so adept at using.
And if there's one deck that is good at slowing down your opponent, it definitely is Dragapult.
I would say so, absolutely.
In this current format, the item lock is incredibly strong. With, being able to choose to go second, that increases your likelihood of being able to stop Angus playing the game completely. We'll get to see what the players have got as their active Pokemon here. But yeah, I'd imagine Yi definitely choosing to go second for this one, drawing his initial hand. And we're going into game number 2.
Angus drawing for turn, a Monkey Dory in his active spot. Look at this. Why would you even need a Precious Trolley? He's got pretty much everything that he needs. 2 Monkey Dory and a Psyduck in play now. But Yi saying, what you can do, I can do better. Got ourselves a Buddy Poffin for a Dreepy and a Budu, identifying that critical piece of the puzzle. We need the Itchy Pollen to slow Angus down. There's almost no way for Angus to find either the Kangaskhan or the Absol without using some sort of item. So a Budu coming in this early is going to be really, really strong. But unfortunately, it's on the bench. He's going to need to find some way to retreat. It looks like we're going for that second Buddy now. Extra Dreepies coming down, identifying, hey, listen, last game I lost. I didn't have enough Dragapults. This time I'm going to go for 4.
What an inverse of the last game. Going from just 1 lone Dreepy, getting absolutely wiped off the board to, yeah, you know what? I'm going to commit to 4.
I'll go for 4.
4 is fantastic. So I like to see that from Yi. We could also see as he was looking through the deck that he does have the Hawlucha. Hawlucha's a pretty good card into this matchup. If you do want to try and remove that Psyduck from play, you can combo that with a Phantom Dive, and that could be very, very strong later down the track. But we can also see that Yi didn't want to bench a single Duskull. He doesn't want that. He does not want that Psyduck having much in this matchup.
I was going to say to Angus, you know what? You can just have it in the active. Oh my goodness, Angus has got an absolutely pitiful hand here, attaching to a Blood Moon Ursaluna and passing, not even choosing to move damage off of the Monkey Dory and giving Yi an opportunity to get not only 1 but 2 Dracloaks down. It's really moving here, identifying it down. I'm in a leading position now. As long as I can get some sort of momentum, I could potentially put myself in a winning position in this game. Having a look now at the last couple of options on his board, he's obviously got a pretty big hand, but Boss's orders coming in. We're going to see an Itchy Pollen onto that Blood Moon Ursaluna, and with no items, it's going to be almost impossible for Angus to get this out of the active. I'm just fiddling about with some cards here, but I imagine that it's just going to be a pass.
It would be very interesting to see what Angus's game plan was there, benching the Blood Moon Ursaluna. It's one of the hardest Pokemon to be able to retreat out of the active. But, I mean, if your hand is just that bad and, you're getting item locked for the next however many turns, maybe your best line is just manually powering up the Blood Moon Ursaluna and just saying, can you deal with this big bet?
Yeah, maybe this is the way forward. But Yi now surely feeling much more confident. Got plenty of cards to use here. I think the thing that I thought was his hand is actually his prizes. Now that I'm looking at the board a little bit more closely, prize is very close to the middle of the board there. Ultra Ball coming down. And the question is, are we going to see Dragapult come out, or are we going for something else? Looks like Monkey Dory. And we're going to set ourselves up here on Yi's side of the board. There's no time to go too aggressive. We are just going to set ourselves up. We're going to be diligent, and we're going to let Budu do what Budu does best.
Yeah, having the Monkey Dory down means that you might be able to just try and pressure your opponent's Monkey Dory. They've only got 2 with 1 attached, with 1 Dark Energy attached. So you might be able to creep that balance of Monkey Dories back so that you're not, copying a lot of damage getting thrown back your way. So we'll see what Yee's actually going to try and put together here off a couple of Recon directives. It's really, really good, the Recon directive ability, being able to stack your deck in a way by throwing cards that you don't want down to the bottom, and then just making sure that you're drawing cards that you want for the rest of your turn. Let's see what he's cooking up next. He's just going for the pass over to the Itchy Pollen over to Angus.
Yeah, absolutely. Very strong return pass from Angus. This is looking pretty brutal. Angus obviously not having access to anything of value here. And the question now becomes for you, how much do I want to set up? When is enough enough? We're going for a Lily here to shuffle our hand into our deck. Still drawing 8 cards. We could potentially see Dragapult attacking this turn, although if we do lay off that item lock, there is the potential that Angus could get his board set up and start attacking. Now, it would be in a much worse position than he potentially could have been if he'd done it earlier, but you never know. Maybe it is time to just start attacking.
It's interesting to see because we haven't had much of a look at even what Angus has got. How many cards Angus has got even in hand? He's pretty much drawn and passed for the last couple of turns. So it's hard to tell whether it's a good time to lay off the item lock, because if Angus has got 10 cards in hand, which he doesn't, but if he had that many, it would probably be a bad time to start swinging with the Dragapult. But, if he's got a couple of cards in hand, it might feel like this could be probably the turn to actually start making a move, maybe deal with this Psyduck with some spread damage, and eventually maybe start to present some Duskulls into play.
Well, this is the thing, is that he won't be able to deal with that Psyduck thanks to the mist energy.
Oh, it does indeed have
Angus
mist.
has diligently attached to his Psyduck, but here is that Dragapult at the very least coming into play now, and plenty of Recon directives being used. Shiny Dracloaks going every which direction, and drawing plenty of cards for Yi on his side of the field. This feels like a really strong position to be in, but I know, having played Dragapult quite a lot, it's a situation where it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. What am I going to do? Am I going to continue item locking, or am I going to go in for the big attack with Dragapult? It looks like that is going to be the direction that we head in.
Yeah, 200 damage going onto the active Blood Moon Ursaluna, which takes it down to 40 left. The Monkey Dory in play at the moment would be able to move a little bit back, but by only having 1 Monkey Dory set up right now and not attaching any other Dark-type energies to the other Monkey Dory, it might be likely that Angus hasn't got anything else in hand to move additional damage. So he might be able to set up a multiple prize KO by sniping at the Monkey Dories on the bench. He's gone and knocked out the Budu over there, maybe to just draw an additional card, honestly, at this point.
Well, it could be that we've got yes, there's the penny. So we've picked up the Blood Moon Ursaluna and will promote a Monkey Dory. It could be, now that there's no item lock in play, that Angus has a bit more of his flexibility available to him. Looks like we've got Pheasantipity coming down. There's an attachment to Pheasantipity just in case it comes into the active, but it turns out that Monkey Dory, not Monkey Dory, that Budu was actually not the problem. It was just Angus's hand. It looks like he is sitting on an absolute pile of cards in his hand. Meanwhile, on Yi's side of the field, continuing to draw, he's got the flexibility to attack with Dragapult. He's got the flexibility to do pretty much anything he wants. And it's just a matter of choice, really, now for Yi. What direction does he want to go in?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what Angus's mindset is going into the next couple of turns. You're sitting there being item locked, and yet you still don't have anything to play after that's concluded, and you're just sitting there watching Yi draw his entire deck
over and over.
Over and over. He's probably on the 3rd go going through his deck right now, which is very interesting. We do actually see a little gust up there on the Pheasantipity, which, as most people would know from playing Dragapult, you don't usually want to take KOs. It's really nice to just leave damage on your opponent's board and then try and focus on some KOs all in one turn later down the track.
Yeah, attacking into this Pheasantipity, a really strong move here from Yi. Obviously, Lively Stadium being in play prevents that Pheasantipity from being knocked out by a single damage counter extra. But Angus obviously will need to find some way to remove that Pheasantipity from play if he doesn't want to lose 2 prize cards. Just retreating now with the effect of Latias EX, trying to decide which Pokemon do I promote. Angus, at this point in time, looks like he might just be kind of fighting his way through the last couple of turns of this game. It doesn't appear that there's a huge amount to work with, but I know Angus quite well. He's the type of player that's going to always look for whatever out he can. And looks like an energy switch here, moving a couple of damage counters off of that Pheasantipity not only removes the energy, the damage from his side of the field, but it also gives him a chance to protect the Pheasantipity, potentially give himself an attack as well as he goes in for Turbo Energize.
Definitely giving some more damage over the other side of the field is really good, but Yi still has the one Monkey Dory, which can throw some of that back his way. So we've got a energy going on to the other Monkey Dory there, as well as one to the Pheasantipity. It's always an interesting game when you get to see Pheasantipity actually doing some attacks.
Yeah, traditionally you're not expecting that your deck's going particularly well if you're attacking with Pheasantipity, but it certainly is an interesting one, allowing you to attack for 100 damage onto the bench. Yi would be feeling very, very confident here. He's got plenty of damage on Angus's side of the field. He's got plenty of opportunity to take knockouts. In fact, he could potentially remove 2 Monkey Dory from the field this turn if he so pleases. The issue will be, does Angus have some way to come back? Yi will be thinking about that as he's making his decisions here. To draw some more cards with Recon Directive. That Buddy Poffin completely useless. We'll put that on the bottom. Is there a way for Angus to come back in this game? And you will be thinking about that. If I take knockouts, is there a chance that I lose by my opponent playing an Iono and sending my hand to the bottom of my deck? Is there a chance that this Pheasantipity with 2 energy on it could possibly be a bit of a problem? And it's one of those things where even though he's in such a commanding spot, he'll need to be thinking about it. 30 damage moved with the Monkey Dory now. The question of where it's going to go.
It was very lucky that Yi scooped the first game pretty quickly, so it does give him a little added benefit of being able to, continue this game for a little bit longer if Angus decides to continue to play it out. So, over there, you're trying to think about the game plan and what your opponent's going to try and do to actually come back by continuing to play this out. So you've got to be making sure that you're future-proofing yourself for later turns, which is really good by keeping the Dragalokes in play so that you'll be able to use Recon Directive if you get Ionoed. And, most of the time we don't see Dragapult going too far ahead. So it's always interesting to see what players do to pivot into a more aggressive style of the deck.
Yeah, definitely. We can see some aggression coming down now. A counter catcher bringing that Pheasantipity up into the active, and the extra damage from Monkey Dory putting Angus's Monkey Dory on 120 hit points or 120 damage would normally knock a Monkey Dory out. But with that lively stadium in play, it's going to require quite a large investment. Just doing the maths now, what amount of damage counters are we putting on? It looks like 2 onto the Monkey Dory. That means we've got 4 more to play with. Where are they going to go? Looks like he's eyeing up that Latias EX.
Latias wouldn't be a bad play. You're able to potentially do what you did with the Pheasantipity, where you can stack a couple of damage counters on there and try and look for another KO at a later turn. But yeah, knocking out that Monkey Dory is very, very big for Yi. Just trying to remove the ability for Angus to track literally any damage, move any damage and do something onto his side of the board to try and slow him down.
Yeah, definitely. A counter catcher from Angus is pretty much the only thing he can do, although it looks like he does have access to a Lily's Determination now, finally being able to remove that hand. Unfortunately, with the Monkey Dory a couple of turns ago knocking out the Budju, there's only going to be 6 cards drawn here from Angus, but realistically, if one of them is a Absol EX and one of them is a Turbo Energize, then maybe the game can continue. He's identified, well, I know that I can potentially give myself a chance to win, but it's a matter of whether or not he can find the pieces. Yveltal and an energy very, very strong in this particular situation, though. Perhaps we could see this Dreepy locked in the active for a turn, and it might give Angus the time that he needs to mount a comeback.
And he definitely needs time to build up most attackers in the Absol box matchup. You need to be using Turbo Energize, because your only other alternative is either energy switching off of something that already has an energy on it, or manually powering up a Pokemon over 3 turns, which, you're probably going to need a couple of turns to do.
Yeah, definitely. We've got the Petron EX coming into play now, allowing Angus to not only retreat for free with Latias, but also to force that Yveltal into the active. You can see now that we're moving some damage counters with Monkey Dory, and now we will lock that Dreepy into the active with Clutch. It's not the perfect target, but it's definitely something. And if Yi can't evolve this particular Dreepy, then he'll be locked there forever. But there is the Dracloak. now not only able to retreat, but also able to use that recon directive to draw one more card. Look at top 2 cards.
Yes, he definitely knows the order of his deck at this point. It's been pretty much turn over turn of just, I know what this card's doing, and I'm putting it to the bottom of the deck, or I'm putting it into hand. We know what we're drawing into here, so we'll see what Yi's actually trying to piece together here. Having that free bench spot over does leave a little bit of versatility, whether he needs to like play down some Haluchas to get some extra damage in play, or if he wants to, go in with something a little bit larger like Blood Moon Ursaluna. We've got that bench space available.
3 prize cards left it's kind of an awkward amount to take at this stage of the game. Not a huge amount of damage left. We're going to use Boss's Orders to bring that Petron EX into the active. Traditionally, you've got 190 HP on this Petron, but with the Lively Stadium, that does push it out of range of this Dragapult EX. So we'll see 200 damage onto the active with the Phantom Dive. It looks like we'll be placing some of those damage counters onto the benched Yveltal. Is that correct? Or have I misread the situation, the hand signals here?
Yeah, it was interesting because we do have the Monkey Dory in play, which I don't know whether they've moved any damage. So if he's trying to line up something, he might be moving off with the Monkey Dory initially. He does have the Stadium Bomb, which is really, really strong. Can he line up? He has lined up, I think, the 3 prizes.
It looks like we're going to only 10 damage. So it's 1 Hawlucha away. This Yveltal could potentially be the way that Angus loses the game. 2 cards to draw here off of Kangaskhan, and the real issue for him is going to be he just does not have a way to reasonably attack. It would take an Absol EX, which he does have in hand, as well as a bunch of energy switches to get an attack off of any kind. And the real issue for him is going to be, even if he can get the attack off, he's not going to be able to take a knockout on this Dragapult. That is going to make life quite difficult. Turbo Energize coming down here thanks to the Town Store.
Yeah, you'd have to be finding a Monkey Dory, trying to set up like Terminal Period or some way of dealing with this massive 320 HP active Dragapult. So it's looking like a little bit of a tough one for Angus to be trying to put together, but at least he does have the energy attachment there to get the Turbo Energize into play. We were probably going to be eyeing up the Bravery Charm. Looks like it is. Maybe. No. Doubling back on it.
It's not 100% certain. It decides not to and goes for the Turbo Energize. Critically, removing the Yveltal from play with that penny is going to give him a chance. But the Boss's Orders is in hand from Yi. So he takes the second game by bossing out one of those single prizes. And now we really get to see an interesting matchup. And there's only so much time that these players will have access to. We don't know in the booth exactly how much time we have left, but this matchup can take quite a bit of time. So both Yi and Angus would be thinking, I'm in a good enough spot. I could potentially win, put myself at 5-1-1, but I'm going to need to do it quickly.
Yeah, Angus definitely not as hyped over that result as what he would have been after the first game. It was a really, really good showing, though, of what the Dragapult can do once you do establish that item lock. Kind of textbook of just set up my Dracloaks, draw a lot of cards, and then just prepare for when I actually want to make that initial strike. And I think he timed that pretty perfectly.
I think he hit the exact right spot there, identifying, okay, Angus's hand is no good regardless. I may as well start attacking with Dragapult. And that is not something that Angus would be super stoked to see. A hand with no basic Pokemon means that he's going to give Yi an extra card here in his opening hand. Mulligan might give Yi what he needs to set up a board. And this is the critical thing for Yi going first. Well, you've got to assume that he'll be going first, is that there's not a huge amount that Yi can do if he doesn't set up Dragapults or Dreepies in that first turn. There isn't one in the active. We've got a Monkey Dory. Does Buddy Poffin exist in that hand? It looks like it might. We've got an attachment to the active, so we've got ourselves a game, but it's definitely not the strongest way that Yi could have started this one off.
Definitely getting down at least an energy into play is still not too bad. It might not allow you to be able to get into like the Budew immediately if you can't find an actual out to the Budew period. But I mean, it would have been nice just to get another couple of Dreepies down maybe if you drew the nuts and managed to have 2 Buddy Poffins in hand. That would be a fantastic start.
Sometimes it does happen. Sometimes you give yourself the best chance. It looks like we've got pretty much no more actions left to take here, and Angus will be moving on. We've got an attachment to the active. We've got a Town Store, which looks like it's going to be searching out a Turbo Energize. The question is, do we have any way to bench Pokemon on Angus's side of the field? Turbo Energize, an excellent card, but if you're not accelerating energy to attackers that you're going to use early, then that is not ideal. Shuffling up here, a little bit of a flick over there, and another pass from Angus. This has got to be an awful situation for him to feel like he's just missing everything at every turn.
I tell you what, it is definitely not ideal after clawing your way through a really, really tough second game to then go into game 3 and just sit there and be like, I'm going to find, the Turbo Energize, get myself in a spot where I could set up. And it's actually going to be passing over to your turn, Yi. Sorry, but
there's nothing more I can do. It's such a disappointment when you have that opening round, that opening turn. You push yourself really hard, you get everything you need, and then it all just falls apart. Meanwhile, on Yi's side of the field, we have another attachment to that Monkey Dory, and critically, the Budgie is on the bench. So we're going to be seeing an item lock fairly soon. It's one of those situations, though, where Angus probably isn't too worried about the item lock. He's more worried about the fact that his hand is, again, not very strong.
Yeah, not being able to get any items this next turn is very, very tough. You're looking for a top deck of any kind of supporter that might be able to draw you some cards, or just raw drawing into potentially, I would say probably one of the best cards would be like finding potentially a Kangaskhan. You'd be able to retreat into that, and then you'd be able to draw some cards. And if you've got an energy in hand, you'd be able to power some stuff up. But over on Yi's side, we're still playing it out. We've had a fantastic turn so far. I mean, you can't ask for more once you've got the Budu down. You're playing a Lily just to shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 8 fresh cards, and continue to start drawing through with those Dracloaks.
Yeah, 2 of them on the field now means that there is plenty of flexibility on Yi's board. He only needs attachments now to these Dracloaks to make them that little bit more threatening. But he knows, my opponent doesn't have a huge board set up. I'm about to start item locking. I've got so much time to set myself up and produce a board that will win this game. And we saw it happen in game 2. Hopefully for Yi, he is able to find all the pieces that he needs quickly. And there's not much more that he could really ask for now. A Duskull coming down, identifying, well, you've got no way to get this Psyduck out. Maybe I could use the Dusclops or the Dusknoir to give myself the boost that I need to win the game.
The power level of this deck is definitely going to be increased for this game. If you have any access to Curse Blast, the amount of damage you can do and the pressure you can put onto your opponent is just so, so strong. We're seeing Angus here. He's going to be attaching another energy to the Petron. It can attack. It does do 60 times damage for the amount of prize cards your opponent has taken, which sadly at the moment is 0 for Yi. So whilst being able to attack, it can't really do anything at this point in the game, but we'll see what Angus is trying to line up here. We've just got to...
Don't know that there's a huge amount of lining up going on. This is a gust to bring the Dracloak into the active and a pass. And this opens the door now. Yi could potentially win the game this turn. He's looking for 3 specific cards. He needs a double turbo energy, or whatever it's called these days.
Neo upper energy.
Neo upper energy. You can tell that I haven't been around the game in a long time. He's looking for the stadium, which he's found, and Hilded will find the other pieces. We've got ourselves the Neo upper, and also the Dragapult EX will be coming into play here. Although we're sifting through. Could it be possible that Yi has prized all of his Dragapult EXs? He's looking through. He's looking through. I don't think he's found one.
Us here on the cast, we sadly can't see the prize cards. So if this is a situation where we have the donking opportunity of this Petron and we don't have a Pokemon to evolve into, this is super unfortunate for Yi. This could now go literally any way, from being a really dire situation to, oh my goodness, what am I going to be able to do to actually try and deal with Angus's side of the board?
This is horrific for Yi, because now not only does he not have the opportunity to win the game, he's thrown the cards down knowing that he's about to win, but he also doesn't necessarily have the capacity to knock any of Angus's Pokemon out. An Arven from Angus here is a fantastic card to get. Unfortunately, will not be able to play any of the items, but he now knows, okay, I've actually got a huge amount of time here. I'm not going to lose the game to a Dragapult attack. They are not available to my opponent. So what can Angus pull off? He's grabbing the Turbo Energize here and also the Trolley. He won't be able to play it thanks to the item lock. We're seeing quite a powerful Petron EX here.
This guy is getting super strong. I'd love to know what the play is going to be here from Angus as we continue on. We're going very quickly right now for Yi. We're going to have to like line up what attackers we can potentially use. We do still have one bench space available to try and get another.
There we go. I was about to say that was a horrific situation to be in, losing that Dragapult into the prize cards, but you've got to really feel for both of these players in that situation. Angus sitting on the side of the field going, "Oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm drawing absolutely nothing," and Yi asking himself, "Where are my Dragapults?"
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting game. Like for us to get to the game 3 and it end up like that, it's just something you don't see very often. But obviously, Yi just getting that win there takes him into a guaranteed phase 2 position.
Yeah,
really, really good.
That's an incredible achievement, right? And for both of these players, day 2 is well and truly alive. Even a loss for Angus there doesn't prevent him from finding his way into that second day, but it is going to be critical that players at that record win their next game. You cannot do more than lose 2 games in this field, or otherwise you are out.
Yes, he's going to be on the last leg going into the last round. It's not a great position to be in. You know, it's always the way the winning in on the last round is the scariest place to be in the room at that point. So we'll see how Angus is able to move into this next round, but hopefully he can put it all together and actually maybe establish a board of Pokemon would be a good start.
Yeah, just for once, that would be excellent. But Yi, on the other hand, going straight on through to day 2, he'll have an opportunity in the next round to either ID and give himself a nice, comfortable, relaxing entry into the second day, or more likely, push for another win and give himself the best chance to win into Top Cut. And so we've only got one more round left for us this afternoon. It's been a really thrilling day of Pokemon action. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with round 8 in only a few minutes. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you very soon. Welcome back, everyone, to the final round of day 1 of the Sydney Regional Championships. We are in the 8th round of our day, and it is starting to really be crunch time for our competitors. We've got 2 players here who simply must win if they want their tournament to continue.
Yeah, going into phase 2, we're looking for that 16 match point record. It's going to be really, really tight. We do have, yes, both players looking to get that win for those 3 additional match points to make it to the phase 2. It's going to be very cutthroat, and I'm super excited to see what we can finish off this first phase with.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be lots and lots of pressure on both of our players, but as well as that, we're also going to have quite a lot of other people in a similar position. X21 is quite a common record at this time of the day. There are so many people that are fighting for those day 2 spots. And this particular game that we're about to see is going to be one where if you don't win, then that is it. The tournament is over.
Yeah, it does suck to get so close to being able to push to that next step and then fall slightly short at the end. So it's definitely a round where you see a lot of people absolutely, thrilled by the end of it. And there's also going to be a lot of people that are, packing it up and then they're coming back tomorrow for side events.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, someone's got to fill out those side events, don't they? And one of the things that's been really exciting for us today has been the variety of decks that have seen some success. We've seen a lot of Dragapult on the stream. We've seen a lot of Golden Go. Not a lot of Gardevoir so far, but I know that there are some floating around. What's been the biggest surprise for you, Tom, today?
I think just like we've been out there, we've scouted a couple of the games. We know that the rotation's coming around and a lot of players are trying to go for one last ride on a couple of their favorite decks.
They certainly are.
And I personally have loved seeing features from decks like Chi and Pow out on the field. Wild as it is, but I've been loving seeing all of the stuff that people have brought to this last event before we eventually rotate after our, we've got at least another couple of events internationally, but for us here in the OCE region, rotation just around the corner.
Yeah, it really is. It's one of those ones where we're seeing lots of people who are bringing those pet decks out, aren't we? Players like Natalie Miller and Brent Tonneson playing their favourite decks. Gardevoir obviously very popular in their testing group. Henry, we've already seen on our stream today playing Dragapult EX. And as you mentioned, things like Chen Pao out in the field as well. I've seen Miraidon EX out there. There's lots of people that are playing cards from that early Scarlet and Violet block and giving them one last chance at success. But we're hoping to get across to our game very shortly. And it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to see 2 players who absolutely must win in order to get themselves through to the finals on day 2. Now, I have taken a look at some of the matchups in the top end of the bracket, some of the ones that we're not going to be seeing today because the results are less impactful for those players. But I know that there is one player who is sitting on a undefeated record with 7 wins after 7 rounds. Henry Brand on Dragapult EX, a very, very strong performance from him. And there's quite a few other players sitting around that top band as well. I know Gabriel Smart is sitting on 601 or 61, something similar to that. And lots of highly recognized international players that are playing at the top level at Sydney Regionals.
Yeah, it's been really great to see. It's going to be so good to see a lot of these players convert over to phase 2, and then meaning we probably might be able to see them on stream tomorrow, which I think is going to be really like a fantastic treat for us, especially as our first stream back, just to have some really, really good players showing what they've got, bringing everything to the table and putting it all on the line for hopefully taking home the prize at the end of our stream tomorrow.
And that's the thing, right? The prize is really, really big. $10,000 and an invite to World Championships is on the line. And these players here are fighting for their Pokemon lives. At 4-2-1, Christina Cow and Matthew Triffett both playing off in this win and in. And we are going to see 2 players who absolutely must see success in this game.
Yeah, we were just setting out all of our prize cards and stuff. We've got 2 basics on each side of the field, so that's going to be a great start. No mulligans coming in. There's the fist bump to start us off. Looks like a Terrapagos down on the field on Christina's side, as well as a Gimmighoul over there. Couple of decks that are running Terrapagos at the moment, but as we saw earlier in the stream, there's some Charizards out there that are potentially having a feature. And another Golden Go for our last stream for today.
Yeah, wouldn't be a Pokemon tournament without Golden Go coming up big in the last round. Christina playing a Nest Ball here, moving that deck up into the zone where we can't necessarily focus on it, but it does look like there are some red energy cards in there. So we're likely looking at a Charizard EX Dawn's variant here, the Terrapagos EX, of course, being that Terra Pokemon that will allow those Noctowls to start searching for trainers. We've got a Fan Rotom coming down, and that's going to allow Christina to search for 3 colorless Pokemon, and that's usually things like Pidgey, Noctowl, and Hoot Hoot.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun card. One of the most highest value cards that you can have in any deck in the format at the moment. 3 Pokemon off playing down 1 Pokemon in your first turn is incredibly strong. I would absolutely love to see what deck lists these 2 players are having, because I have seen a few Golden Go players that have teched in a Rockets Watchtower for this weekend, which was one of my favorite cards that I thought was going to be doing really well over the 2 days. So if Matthew's chucking in a Rockets Watchtower, this would be a really interesting game to see play out. Christina continuing off on this search. It looks like we're going for a Pidgey, Noctowl, and a Hoot Hoot. Pretty standard grabs for all of the Charizard players out there, leaving 1 bench space open at the moment, unless the Area 0 Underdepths comes down, potentially for a Charmander.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong start here from Christina. The only thing that is missing is that Charmander to potentially evolve into Charizard EX next turn. And see a little bit of thinking going on. We've got a Jet Energy that could potentially force a Fan Rotom into the active next turn, but for now we'll just pass and send it across to Matthew, and he'll be looking for as strong a start as possible. A little bit upset, I'm sure, that he sees that Terrapagos in the active. He'd much prefer one of those 60 or 70 HP basics so that he could potentially use Soul to take a prize card, but it's not necessarily going to be that easy for him. He'll have to gust around it. But he still does actually need to find the Soul Rock, the Lunatone, and the Energy. So using the Gong here is going to be helpful to find one of those pieces. It just depends on whether or not he's going to be able to find the other 2.
Yeah, Gong is a fantastic card. It allows you to look for either one of the fighting type Pokemon or a fighting type energy as well, which is fantastic as an engine in the Golden Go deck. Really versatile. We've seen going in with a Arven, looking like he's grabbing a TM Evo, as well as a Buddy Buddy Poffin finding some of the Gimmighouls. I think that might be a continuous coin toss Gimmighoul, which is not a card that I've seen in many moons, that one.
Yeah, it's one of those cards where quite often people gravitate towards specific single prize basics if they're evolving. Continuous coin toss, one that isn't necessarily super popular, but it can potentially give you a win in a clutch situation. But another card that's not super popular in Golden Go at the moment, TM Evolution, allowing Matthew to evolve 2 of his Gimmighouls directly into Golden Go. And that's going to give him just that little bit of extra consistency next turn to potentially take a knockout on this Terrapagos. over to Christina now, who has an opportunity to start evolving up some of the Pokemon on her bench. We know she searched out a Noctowl last turn, and since Terapagos is in the active, that effect will be active. We could potentially be looking at something like a Dawn to come out to give ourselves access to a Pidgeot, but there are so many options with this Jewel Seeker ability that it's almost hard to say. It's impossible to say exactly what you'd be looking for.
It's really, really tough to actually like pick the cards that you're looking to get off of Jewel Seeker. With so many options, Jewel Seeker being able to find just 2 of any trainer and just put them into your hand is incredibly strong. So I'd imagine that probably the Dawn would be a great pick. If you can get a rare candy to go alongside that, Pidgeot with a quick search ability would allow you to search your deck for any additional card as well. So it could be a really, really solid turn from Christina if she can pull a couple of different pieces together and put them all into play this turn, and then maybe try and set up some sort of, Charmander or 2 Charmanders on the board so that there's no potential gusting options as Matthew takes over for the next turn.
Looks like we're still having a bit of a think here about exactly what the best option is. I can see Rare Candy sitting at the top there, and it looks like we're going for the Area 0 Underdepths as well. Perhaps that Dawn already in hand, the Area 0 coming down now. Rare Candy for Pidgeot. Why would you Dawn for it when you simply have it in hand? And now Christina's going to be able to search for any card that she likes. She's got the consistency engine set up. The only thing that she's missing is a potential Charmander, but she will be able to get a knockout with this Jet Energy if she wants to.
Yeah, it's going to be looking like she's going for a little quick search in there, probably going to be finding maybe a Buddy Poffin. There it is, getting sent straight to the top of the deck.
She's listening to you.
We're getting some pieces together right now. It could be a little bit scary if we do only get the 1 Charmander down. It looks like eyeing off a Duskull as well as a Charmander. Golden Go, known for playing a lot of Gust cards in it, whether it be Prime Catcher or 3 or 4 Boss's Orders, and already 2 Golden Goes established. That means there's going to be a fair amount of draw on Matthew's side of the table this turn.
And because of that Jet Energy, Christina will be able to take a knockout this turn. But if Matthew can target down that Charmander, then it's going to become a little bit more difficult for her to be able to push for a second knockout. Still having a bit of a think here about exactly what the next move looks like. You can see that Jet Energy is sitting towards the top of her hand, so she is ready to start attacking with Fan Rotom if she would like to. And that will, of course, give her a single prize and put her in front. But the question becomes, is that really the thing that you want to do? It looks like, yes, it is. We're going to Jet Energy into the active, and we'll take that first prize card to go in front in round 8.
Yeah, taking out a single prize is pretty decent. We're hopefully going to be able to pull together an additional prize card somewhere down the track to even us up for a nice maybe 2-2 trade later down the track. But we see Matthew over here starting off with the Golden Go. He's attached the air balloon and also going to be using some coin bonus and managed to find the secret box in hand. This is going to give him a lot of versatility. He's able to find one of every single type of trainer after he discards 3 cards here. Let's see what he's getting rid of. Obviously, Lopunny's not going to be super effective right now. We don't have a Baneri in play, and we've already TM-Evo'd into our 2 Golden Goes. So Genesect looking to go straight into the discard pile.
Yeah, also identifying that maybe Professor Turo isn't a particularly useful card in this matchup. Identifying the fact that Charizard is going to be probably hitting for knockouts most of the game. Now, Matthew, obviously playing that secret box, getting the chance to search for one of every type of trainer, a supporter, a tool, a stadium, and an item. You can see him eyeing up a couple of tools at the front there. I've got an Evo TM. It looks like we're going for a Fighting Gong, an Arven, and an Artisan. Thank you, Christina, for neatly spreading those cards out for us. And the Artisan going directly into play. It looks like Matthew will be using the effect of that to search for another basic Pokemon without a rule box. And it's either going to be a Lunatone or a Gimmighoul. You've got to think, though, Lunatone is so much value here.
Yeah, Lunatone being able to use the ability to draw the additional cards is something you definitely want to see this turn. I mean, we already know that we're not playing Prime Catcher. We've seen the secret box come down. So the Arven also is the grab off the secret box. So maybe not gusting this turn. So it could be trying to swing into maybe just attacking with the Soul Rock eventually. We'll see what line Matthew's trying to take here. We're going, looks like, for a retreat into another Golden Go. Going to have a coin bonus once it's in the active to draw an additional card. We'll see how it goes.
Sliding that Artisan under the cords there. And there's the Fighting Gong that's going to go and search for a Fighting Energy. It's going to do one of two things. It'll either give Lunar Cycle a target to discard, allowing Matthew to draw 3 cards, or perhaps even attach it to that Soul Rock for a potential attack down the line. You've got to think, though, Golden Go would be looking to try and get as much value out of its attack as possible. It really doesn't want to take a knockout on this Fan Rotom. If it could take a knockout on Terapagos or even Pidgeot EX, that would be so much more powerful. But Matthew needs to find the right cards to give himself the best chance. Drawing with Lunar Cycle is going to do a really strong movement towards the success he's looking for.
Yeah, he's getting the extra Gimmighoul down. That's going to hopefully eventually turn into another Golden Go later down the track. You want to be able to keep streaming these Golden Goes into play, drawing additional cards. Really, really good, because most of the time you're going to be trying to get an Iona on the other side of the table just to try and actually stop this Golden Go from just applying so much pressure that that coin bonus is just super scary and has so much value. We're going into the deck with the Earthen Vessel, trying to get some more energies into hand. We only need to hit the active for 70 damage. So once we get a steel type energy, we just need an additional 2 energy in hand to actually take this knockout. But leaving a 2 prizer in the active can be a little bit scary.
It certainly can. Christina wouldn't necessarily be able to knock it out straight away, but a Charizard EX plus a potential Dusclops or Dusk Noir could give her what she needs to take that KO. Matthew playing here as if he doesn't necessarily have a way to gut, and that's not necessarily the best situation for him to be in. And see him here looking at that hand. We know he's got a few cards that are quite useful, but the real difficulties here is going to be, can I find a way to take the knockouts that I need? And quite a lot of thinking here, perhaps eyeing up something like a Superior Energy Retrieval to get some energy back into hand. Metal Energy going onto that Golden Go in the active. So we will see an attack, and there's the Superior.
Yeah, getting rid of the TM Evolution, as well as one of these Soul Rocks, going to grab 3 energy out of the discard pile. Superior Energy Retrieval, discard 2 cards, and then you can take up to 4 energy from your discard pile. And then it looks like we're going for a cheeky boss, gusting up the Hoot Hoot, and that's going to be putting a little bit of a dampening on Christina's dig into the deck next turn, as she won't be able to just go in and grab a Noctowl to just find 2 additional cards out of the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And an interesting one there to choose the Noctowl and the Hoot Hoot over perhaps the Duskull or the Charmander. Matthew identifying, well, I don't want Christina to be able to search out the cards that she needs to make her plays. Instead, I'm just going to force her to rely on the one Pidgeot and assume that there's not going to be enough for her to be able to set up her board. You can see now a bit of thinking going on. The Dusk Noir is in the hand by the looks of things. So we could potentially see a big explosion for 130 damage onto one of Matthew's benched Pokemon, perhaps even the active Golden Go if required. But I'm sure from her perspective, the thing that she's looking for is either an attack with that Charmander or even just a gust onto that Gimmighoul on the bench to allow her Fan Rotom to take another prize.
Yeah, leaving it 1 prizer in the active isn't a bad play. But as you mentioned, with the Dusknoir in hand, we did see a Soul Rock that just got discarded as well from Matthew on the last turn. So most of the time, there's only 2 in the list. If you wanted to shut down a little bit of the Goldengo's draw, it might be a decent target to try and go for that Soul Rock. We do see the Charizard coming down. We're going to be going in with a Quick Search as well. That's most likely going to be going for a rare candy if one's not already in their hand, considering the Charizard is already sitting there right nicely on the Charmander. And it looks like there's the rare candy going in with the Inferno Rain ability on the Charizard EX there. Allows you to get 3 Fire-type energies out of the deck and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you'd like. 2 of them seeing a nice little home there on the Charizard, and maybe eyeing up 1 additional Terapagos, which has got a decent attack.
It certainly does. It's not a completely useless option, but Christina's saying, you know what, I'm going to actually put one on my Pidgeot here. Pidgeot also with the potential to knock out one of those Soul Rock or Lunatone later in the game. Not necessarily an ideal attacker, but definitely an option for you. One of the things that she needs to be careful of here, though, is the potential for Matthew to be able to take a big knockout on her only Charizard in play, because she elected not to put that energy on the Terapagos. She's now a little bit more focused on the potential Charizard. So we'll wait and see how her turn pans out. A little bit of thinking going on. We've still got an Artisan that could potentially be used, but is obscured by the wires a little bit. Looks like we're going for a Gust, and that Prime Catcher bringing out the Lunatone on Matthew's side of the field, ready for its demise.
Iona coming down for Christina as well. She's going to be picking up 5 cards equal to her prize cards. I think Matthew's on 5 as well, so 5 into his hand too. So we'll see what she's meant to pull off of there. But yes, didn't look like she got the use maybe out of that Artisan before she bumped it with the Area 0. But yeah, can see definitely a Charmander coming to the top of the deck there. So having up that extra backup attacker is going to be very important, as she doesn't want to lose the one Charizard and then have nothing to swing with the following turn if it does get cleaned up.
It's difficult to say who's on top at the moment. We're kind of feeling each other out here. The thing about Golden Go is that it's so powerful, it's so strong. It can knock out this Charizard incredibly easily. But in order to do that, Matthew realistically is only going to be in a position where he needs to take 2 more knockouts, right? It's not necessarily an easy route to victory for him, whereas Christina has a little bit more flexibility. She chooses to take her second prize of the game, knocking that Lunatone out, and now Matthew into his turn, drawing some cards off of Golden Go. He's got those fighting energies in his hand by the looks of things, and he also has that second Lunatone, so potentially drawing some more cards. And look at all those energies that Matthew now has in his hand. There's a couple of superior energy retrievals in there as well. There are so many options. Perhaps he'll be able to take a big knockout on this Charizard this turn.
His hand is incredibly strong. Already, I think having 2 superior energy retrievals in there, that's going to free up you to be able to maybe go for like a boss this turn on the Pidgeot. I think that would be one of the strongest plays that you might be able to make, as Pidgeot's quick search ability is, like, at least in the late game, one of the best things that you can be doing to make sure that you're consistently chaining these Charizard EX attacks.
We've got a Nest Ball now for a Pheasantipity EX, a very useful way to draw even more cards on Matthew's side of the field. Since Christina took a knockout on that Lunatone, my apologies, last turn, the Pheasantipity EX will be active and available. We're just seeing some little board cleaning here so that air balloon on the benched Golden Go is a little bit more easily seeable. And now the Pheasantipity drawing some extra cards. Realistically, the only thing that Matthew would be looking for here this turn would be an extra Golden Go to go on that Gimmighoul on the bench. Realistically, everything is working quite well here. You've got to ask the question, though, is there a risk that next turn Christina simply wins the game? One of the things about this Dawn Charizard deck is that it's got access to a lot of powerful cards, and you can see the Duskull sitting on her side of the field, ready to potentially take some big knockouts. 4 prizes is not beyond the realm of possibility, and even if Matthew manages to knock this Charizard out, she will still be able to use both of those Duskulls to potentially give herself enough prizes to win the game.
Super scary. It's like incredible to see the versatility of this Charizard deck. Having access to, as you mentioned, the Duskulls and the Dusknoirs to also compare with like the Briar that you can play down, allowing you to flexibly adjust your opponent's prize cards so that they can end up on 2 remaining, and then just take additional knockouts or additional prize cards with your Charizard EX when it takes knockouts. Matthew over here, looks like we're playing back, going onto the superior energy retrieval. We see a discard of an Arven, and just trying to find what card they want to use as that last discard. Draw a few more energies back out of the discard pile for this knockout.
Yeah, it's another Churro going into the discard pile. We'll be grabbing out as many energies as we can. We see 1, 2, 3, and that is all. So we'll grab those 3 out and throw them down onto the field. Matthew going forward with his plan. He's got to take prizes. And realistically, even though Christina's board has the potential to take some big knockouts, she still has to actually do it. She has to have the cards available to her. And at the moment, Matthew's best option is just to take the knockout. There we go. The big swing on Charizard, taking that knockout, 350 damage, and Matthew moving down to 3 prize cards remaining. Let's see if Christina can piece together a winning board state this turn, or whether she's going to have to find some other way to approach this matchup.
Her hand's not looking too bad. She's got enough cards in there that she'll be able to work around with, and as well as keeping that quick search Pidgeot alive. So if any turn you're going to be able to piece them together, hopefully it's going to be this one with the necessary requirement of getting some sort of attacker into play this turn. But obviously, once your Pokemon gets knocked out, you have access to Pheasantipity that draws you a couple of cards. It would be nice to have potentially like a Hoot in play to then be able to use the Jewel Seeker ability on Noctowl this turn to try and dig a little bit deeper and clean up a potential knockout or game close on this turn.
And we can see a few cards that are being eyed up by Christina here. Pheasantipede, one of those cards. I saw Dusk Noir in the pile as well. The real challenge is going to be there's obviously ways to win this game, but they rely on a lot of different cards to come to the fore. And one of the critical ones is rare candy. Will Christina have enough rare candies in order to pull off a Charizard attack, as well as potentially a Dusk Noir that could take a prize? We're grabbing ourselves a Dusclops, a Dusk Noir, and a Pheasantipede off of Dawn now, ready and raring to go. But it could be that we need these Pheasantipede cards to see an extra couple try and get those rare candies into our hands.
Definitely, if I was Matthew, I'd be sweating after seeing the 3 cards come down just there from Christina. When you see a Dusknoir as well as a Dusclops getting thrown down into your opponent's hand, you're like, this might be it. This is like could be a lot of pieces coming together here. And Charizard is definitely known for doing that. It doesn't take too much for it to be able to find all of its different bits and pieces to close a game out. So we'll see what Christina comes to take out of this deck with the quick searching ability here from Pidgeot.
She's sitting there looking through the deck, making sure that all of the pieces are available. It could be that we are ready for a big knockout here. She might also be regretting attaching that energy to Pidgeot, potentially having that on Terrapagos could have made this attack a little bit easier for her. Charizard wasn't required, but as it stands, Charizard is going to be needed if she plans on winning the game this turn. We'll have to wait and see, though. It's so difficult to tell. Charizard needs so many different pieces to pull these turns together. And since the supporter has already been played, there's not a huge amount of flexibility that Christina has, especially without access to Noctowl. So we've grabbed a card there. I didn't quite catch exactly what that was. Jet Energy for Christina. We'll wait and see exactly how that's going to be used. It looks like what's going on here? No.
Potentially a concession.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's available to her. What's that? Rare Candy and Charizard both in the prizes. So unable to get out those energy and instead deciding, you know what? No, I'm just going to end this game here and give myself as much time as possible in game 2. A really disappointing way for Christina to end her game there, but sometimes it is the only way.
It was definitely within grasp. That turn had to go very well. But, I mean, if you don't take a knockout of your opponent's Pokemon that turn, they might be able to clean up one of your 2 prizes, and then eventually that would be on 1 prize remaining, and they would just have no way to use their Dusclopses or Dusknoirs, leaving just a lot of chunky guys on your bench that won't be able to help you out in the rest of the match. So probably the right decision there, just to go for a concession, say we're going to take it to the next one. We've learned what the opponent's deck is going to be able to do, and let's try and work our way around it.
Yeah, identifying that, you know what, I can't actually reach it this time. I'm going to have to go and reapply myself in the second game here. And I'm sure that Christina will feel really confident knowing that Golden Go is a matchup very winnable for Charizard. But Matthew feeling very strong on the other side as well. You know what, my consistent approach has worked. I've been able to evolve my Golden Goes early. I put on enough pressure. I knocked out enough of my opponent's Pokemon that I put them under enough pressure that they couldn't proceed with the game as they planned. So we'll wait and see exactly how this set is going to pan out. But Matthew, one step closer to that day 2 berth. All he needs is 1 victory, and he is into day 2. But not an ideal start. It looks like a mulligan for him.
Yeah, you don't want to see the mulligans coming down just after you're 1 game up. You really don't want your opponent to have any extra advantage when you're on the winning end. But it looks like Christina had a handful of, it looked like potentially a lot of Duskulls there. I couldn't really see too much else in their hand, but getting 1 additional card, you're definitely not going to be complaining about that. As we move over to, I think Matthew is shuffling up. Yeah, still shuffling up, looking to start off this game at number 2.
Yeah, no, I've got plenty of options in Christina's hand by the looks of things. Let's see if Matthew can find a basic here, and he'd be happy with effectively anything. But the number 1 card he'd love to see would be Solrock. There are so many cards in Christina's deck that are easily knockoutable, I suppose, by Solrock. He'd much prefer to start there. I don't know if he was able to. It looks like it might have been a Gimmighoul that went face down into the active spot, but we're about to find out. There's the fist bump. Let's get into game 2, and it's the Bunnery for Matthew in the active. Christina starting with what is arguably one of the best Pokemon to start with in her deck. That is Fan Rotom. And look at this. Who needs Buddy Buddy Poffin when you've simply got all these basics in hand?
Yeah, it's incredible to see. Like, this is the optimal start that you would be looking to hope for. The only thing we might be missing is maybe an out to potentially getting a Terra Pokemon in play. But, I mean, you've got a little bit of time. You know that your opponent's deck is an evolving one, so you've got at least one more turn after this to go in and potentially grab out a, at least a Terra Pokemon from the deck to progress your board on the next turn. But more importantly, we do have at least the 80 HP Charmander on board, which if you're scared about your Charmander getting knocked out by a Solrock next turn, that extra 10 HP might put a little wall into that plan.
Yeah, it's just become that little bit more difficult to knock out. It would require some sort of modifier. It looks like Christina happy to go with 2 Hoot Hoot and a Pidgey here. Very, very strong basic Pokemon. And if I'm Matthew, I'm sitting there saying, well, I know my opponent probably has all the cards that they need for next turn if that is their selection. The only thing that Christina needs to be careful of is that she has enough space for that Terra Pokemon, just in case she's not able to use that Noctowl's ability. You can see her tossing up here. Will I put that Hoot Hoot down or not? Seems like we're going to say no. We'll leave it at that. Looks like we've just got a bit of gunk on a card here. Flick that off, and we are ready for Matthew's first turn. He's got himself an opportunity to try and set up a board here, but I'm not seeing a huge variety of supporters in that hand. We've got a Genesect, though, which will allow us to search a couple of cards, as well as a Nest Ball. So we've got a working bench, but not necessarily the start that he would have been hoping for.
Yeah, if we go for another Golden or another Gimmighoul, that would be ideal. Yeah, there it comes down into play because we're like Solrock, Cosmic Beam, 70 damage, very, very strong. But also, Fan Rotom, as long as there's a stadium in play, it also has access to a 1 energy cost, 70 damage attack, which could be able to target down any of those Gimmighouls on the bench if they just have Gust. So it looks like we're using the Metallic Signal from the Genesect. They're grabbing 2. Golden goes out for Matthew. Maybe just thinning the deck a little bit this stage, as we obviously can't evolve, being our first turn of this game. But we're getting a manual attach of a Steel-type energy to the Gimmighoul and passing it over to Christina.
Well, solid turn for Matthew. Not the best turn Golden Go's ever seen. And sometimes Golden Go does fall into this kind of trap. It's not able to necessarily get going as fast as it would like. And Christina now looking for an opportunity to take advantage of that. If she can find a way to take a knockout with this Fan Rotom, that would be fantastic. Even if she could evolve 1 or 2 of her basics into those stage 1s, that would be super, super handy. Looks like we're going into the deck here. Can't quite see exactly what card that one is. There's a couple of options as to what they could be. It looks like we're grabbing a Terrapagos off of a Nest Ball, and that will give Christina the flexibility to start using the Noctowls.
Jewel Seeker coming down, going to be looking for the 2 trainer cards. There are a couple of really good picks that you can be doing on this turn. We definitely want to make sure we're trying to get another Charmander down, so it could be an angle of maybe establish Pidgeot and then go for like Area 0, as well as try and get a Charmander or, Buddy Buddy Poffin, try and get a couple of extra Pokemon down as well. But there's already a Hoot Hoot in hand, so that's definitely something that she's going to want to throw down onto the board as well this turn when she ends up throwing it back over to Matthew.
It's a tough one as well because sometimes Charizard can find itself in a spot where it has so many different pieces it needs to collect in this early game that it might be just that little bit too tough for her. She needs to find a stadium and an energy in order to attack. And if she wants to set her board up, then she's going to need the stadium as well as Rare Candy and Dawn. And it might be a little bit too difficult to find all of those pieces at once. It really depends on exactly what direction she wants to go. I think regardless, she'd be feeling pretty confident that she's got the resources required to win this game. And grabbing a Dawn and a Buddy Buddy Poffin seems like a pretty strong choice. Now with the stadium in play, we've got Dawn coming down, we've got Buddy Buddy Poffin coming down. I'd expect that we'd see a Pidgeot in play this turn at the very least, as well as potentially an attack with this Fan Rotom.
Yeah, Area 0 under depths allowing you to have an additional 3 bench Pokemon as long as you've got a Terra Pokemon in play. Really, really good in the Charizard deck is a lot of times you're filling up your bench with some Noctowls that aren't really going to be moving during the game. So you want to have access to the extra space. And then you've got a couple of other guys as well down there, like some Dusknoirs that might not be able to do anything till later down the track in the game. So having that extra room is really good. We'll see what is getting eyed up here by Christina. as we're digging into the deck. It looks like there's another Charmander sitting there at the top. And then I'm imagining we'd find a couple of extra evolution Pokemon in hand as well. Knowing that we've already got the Hoothoot, going for an extra Noctowl might be good as we move to the next turn. But there we can see a Hoothoot, a Dusclops, and a Pidgeot coming down. If we got a rare candy in hand, this would be a very, very strong grab.
It certainly would. That Dusclops coming down provides a lot of power on Christina's side of the board, and the rare candy into Pidgeot gives her the flexibility to start searching for whatever cards she wants. And so many different options. We can also see in the hand, we do have access to Prime Catcher as well. So it might be that we are able to target down one of those Gimmighoul's on the opposite side of the field. Doing a bit of thinking here. What is the best way to go about this? Bit of a conversation between players here. So many different options now opening up for Christina. We know that she's still got that Hoot in hand. Buddy Putty Poffin is still available to her, and it's just a matter of whether or not she chooses to take a knockout on the active or on the benched Gimmighoul.
Textbook stuff coming in here. We're going back into the deck. Hopefully going to be eyeing up a couple of additional Pokemon that we can get into play right now. Yeah, it's going to be good if she can get a knockout this turn, whether it be on a Gimmighoul or a Lopunny that's sitting in the active. That's still going to be pretty nice for her as she's going to make her way during this game and set up her own prize map and try and just set a line on that tempo and put the pressure onto Matthew really early.
And there is going to be a lot of pressure on him. At this stage, your opponent has done pretty much everything that they wanted to. They've set up their Pidgeot, they've set up Hoots, they've set up Charmanders. There's everything that Christina could possibly want on her side of the field at the moment. So Matthew's got to be thinking, well, I didn't get necessarily the best start that I've ever seen. What am I going to do to try and pull off a second victory here? It's going to be a little bit tougher, especially without access to Soul Rock or Lunatone. We're now moving through Christina's turn, just shuffling up after her search here. I'm sure we're about to see a big attack. But the question is, who are we going to be knocking out? Is it going to be the Baneri in the active? Is it going to be the benched Gimmighoul? Yes, it is. We're going to see the Prime Catcher used. We're going to see an attachment to the Fanrotom and simply knocking it out after retreating backwards into that Pidgeot.
You have no complaints after having a turn like that if you're Christina. You know that your opponent did grab some of those Golden Goes out of the deck with the Metallic Signal. So we knew that this was coming down. We'll have to see what Matthew tries to do here after the coin bonus. He's got Fezandipity, which is fantastic to draw the additional extra cards for him. We're going to be having a little look at the hand to see whether he's got anything else to bench down. But yeah, your board right now isn't looking the strongest, especially when you're looking over to the other side of the table and you've got a whole stack of 7 Pokemon on the bench with a Fanrotom in the active. It's looking like a little bit embarrassing when you've only got 3 sitting on your bench.
Well, it's definitely not ideal. Matthew would definitely prefer to have different attackers available to him. The biggest issue that I think Matthew's got at the moment is he doesn't necessarily have a good attacker for this turn. And even if he does manage to have that Metal Energy to attack with Golden Go, he'll be leaving his only powerful attacker in the active ready for a Charizard EX to come in and take a return knockout. So the question has to be, what is the best way for Matthew to try and get in front in this game? And he's eyeing off Secret Box off of the Arven to give himself the most options that he can to try and get a big KO this turn.
The reach off this Secret Box could be very, very big. It's got, and as we mentioned, one of every single trainer card that you can grab. So we can grab a bump for this stadium, which will be probably Artisan, which can establish our Soul Rocks, Lunatones. We can also get our supporter for turn, which I think was Arven. So we can get a supporter for the next turn. So we might be able to get another card to establish our board a little bit better. Maybe get a Boss's Orders or some form of Gusting to take a little bit of a better KO than just trying to knock into a Fanrotom in the active. But yeah, we're seeing the Artisan get picked. We've got a Fighting Gong. We're going for a Air Balloon to potentially retreat this Golden Go if we don't want to leave it stranded in the active this turn. And then our supporter for turn is going to be Arven, which will be able to be used next turn.
Yeah, absolutely. They're pretty generic cards, that particular Secret Box. But you know what? all of them very, very strong. And arguably the most powerful one that's about to come down here is the Artisan. Artisan not only giving Matthew the flexibility to search for some other basic Pokemon, but also forces Christina to remove cards from her bench until she has 5 remaining. And she removes the Noctowl. That's an easy one. But now there's only one Charmander on the board. It could potentially be a target for Matthew later down the line.
Yeah, it's going to put the pressure on Christina moving into this next turn to make sure that Charmander does become a Charizard. Sadly, without seeing any other gusting options over Matthew's side of the field, unless there's a counter catcher hiding in there, that Charmander on the bench is going to be safe for this turn. We've got the Fighting Gong coming down. It looks like the Artisan and the Fighting Gong grabbing the Solrock and Lunatone. You definitely want to see that into this matchup. You need to be drawing some additional cards, and those are one of the best ways of doing it with the 2 combo pair of the Lunatone and Solrock.
Just having a look there at Matthew's hand, there's not a huge amount of options for him. He's eyeing off superior energy retrieval here, but there's not that many energy left in the discard pile. I think there's only 1 fighting and 1 metal. Now there's an extra one, though, as we use Lunar Cycle to draw 3 more cards, and perhaps that could give us the flexibility to improve our turn. I think I see a Boss's Orders in there for later, so that will be very handy for next turn. There we go with a superior energy retrieval, though. We'll find 3 energy out of the discard pile, 2 fighting and a metal, and likely see one of those fighting attached to the Solrock and a nice attack into this Fan Rotom for the first prize of Matthew's game.
Yes, it's still managing to get a knockout. It's really, really good, but Christina now has an opportunity to potentially leave Matthew with no Golden Goes in play this turn. If she can pop this Dusclops as well as gust up a Golden Go, the limited options that might be on the side of the field for Matthew could end up biting him potentially in this game.
Yeah, one of the things about Golden Go is that it doesn't have a huge amount of reach if your Golden Goes aren't in play. One of the best attackers in the game when it comes to expandable damage, but not a lot of flexibility with the other tech attackers. Christina's board, however, does have a lot of flexibility. We've got that Charmander on the bench. We've got the Hoot Hoot ready to search for 2 trainer cards if required. The Dusclops is there ready to evolve into Dusknoir if needed, and Pidgeot there to support the whole process. I think if you're Christina, you'd be feeling really, really good. And look at those cards coming off of the Dawn there. Pheasantipity, Noctowl, and Charizard EX. I don't think you could ask for a better combination of 3 Pokemon in this position.
Incredibly high value. You're able to pretty much establish everything that you want off this one single card. Having the Pheasantipity down, drawing an additional 3 more before you use that Jewel Seeker. You might be able to find even some pieces off there without having to go digging in with the Jewel Seeker or the Pidgeot. Looks like we're going for a Jewel Seeker first. We'll see what cards Christina needs to pull off these combos this turn. Looks like we're eyeing off the Rare Candy to go up into the Charizard. So let's see what her flex spot is for the next one. Having a quick look at the hand there. Trying to eye down exactly what we need to do. Compartmentalize what we have to do this turn and really lock down our plan.
Yeah, definitely going to be an attack on the active this turn. Having already played Dawn, already used the Prime Catcher, there's no other Gust options that Christina could realistically use. So she knows she'll be taking a single prize. The question is, what is your attacker? How are you best planning to take this knockout? And what else can you do? After this turn, you've got to assume that Matthew is going to be able to return your knockout on your Charizard EX. So how are you going to best prepare for that upcoming turn? I've still yet to make the decision on this Noctowl. It's taking quite a bit of time to confirm that choice. It looks like it's going to be Rare Candy and again, Area 0. Now, of course, we can play that Area 0 straight down, or we could choose to use Artisan if we would like to. We've still got the flexibility of Pidgeot if required. There's the Stadium Bump, so no need to find an extra Pokemon from Artisan, and we'll play that Pheasantipity down ready to draw some extra cards if required.
Yeah, with the extra board space, we'll see what Christina's benching. It looks like another one of the Duskulls. She's still potentially got Quick Search online, so that would be a great card to finish off with after a draw for 3. We're just thinning the deck out with the Charizard's Infernal Rain ability right now, getting us the 3 Fire Energies, putting them into play before we start digging for those final resources that we're going to need later. We're going into putting the 2 at the moment to the front of the deck. Hopefully we've got an extra one in there that we can maybe pivot and start powering up this Terrapagos. After the last game where we had one entity stranded on a Pidgeot, maybe pivoting instead to another potential attacker for later.
There's 3 energy in there. One of the frightening things about playing Charizard is the low amount of fire energy that you do play in your deck. Only 5 in the average list, 2 of them going onto that Charizard, and we'll decide now if we want the 3rd on another attacker. Doesn't look like it. We're going to hold that back for the moment, maybe preferring instead to keep it for another Charizard down the track. And Christina will be feeling pretty solid here. She knows she's got her knockout. She knows that her board is set and ready to go. I think the only thing that we're really missing is another Charmander ready to come back into the game if the Charizard's knocked out. We're going to see Christina take a single prize this turn, go down to 4, and again, because of the double Dusclops, we've got so many options to take knockouts to win this game.
Going into the deck again, it looks like probably we're going to be eyeing off maybe a Buddy Poffin for this quick search. Or even if there's no Buddy Poffins available, it might be going in for potentially a supporter for turn by the looks. Was the Dawn played this turn?
It certainly was. So we're looking for an Iono there. It's just going to be sitting in the hand by the looks of things. So we've already Dawned. We grabbed the Charizard, the Noctowl, and the Pheasantipity. So we shouldn't be playing that this turn. But Iono, an exceptional deck, an exceptional card, especially against a Golden Go deck that only has 1 Golden Go in play. Could potentially be a really strong disruption option. There's that fire energy that we elected not to attach, disappointingly entering our hand right now, but that's okay. And now we're ready to see what the next move will be for Christina.
It looks like potentially a Buddy Poffin in hand. That's going to be fantastic. If she's already knew that she had him out to the Charmander, you may as well go in and find something for your next turn. So it would have been good value grabbing that Iono so we can eventually disrupt Matthew's hand into this next turn. Good call. The Artisan has also been bumped, so if we are taking a knockout on this active, it might be a little bit tough for Matthew to find another Soul Rock to get that extra draw into play. But a knockout does mean Pheasantipity comes back online, as well as your Golden Go being able to draw some cards. So we'll see what Christina tries to pull together to see whether she's going to be knocking out this Soul Rock. It looks like she's free retreating into the Charizard EX. Thinking about it for a little bit. We'll see if she locks it in, and it looks like she has. We'll see a knockout on the Soul Rock here from Christina, taking her to 4 prize cards remaining.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, isn't it? When you take a knockout on the Soul Rock, you remove the ability of Lunatone to draw more cards. But in doing so, you activate the Pheasantipity and the Golden Go, and now we're drawing 5 cards instead of 3. So a really difficult spot to be in. Matthew, though, looking for some help on his board. That Baniri and the Genesect both creating some havoc, not allowing him to bench any new Gimmigholes, and you can see them in the hand. They're ready to go. So if he wants them, he can easily play them down. There is one of them coming down now. But now all of the draw that we could use has been used. Big old hand there for Matthew. And he's looking for an energy to attach to the active, as well as quite a few to discard to knock out this Charizard. It's going to require 8 energy from Matthew this turn to try and get this knockout. And in his search for it, we'll start off with an Earthen Vessel, discarding a fighting energy to search for 2 others from the deck.
A great start. You definitely want to be seeing how many energies you have available here. It looks like he's still got a fair few in the deck, but without having that additional draw to dig any deeper, we'll see if he's got superior energy retrievals or some other way of fetching those energy cards to get them into the hand. If he's got a steel type energy available and then enough to use superior energy retrieval to get up to that additional 7 needed, it's still not a bad turn being able to take the only Charizard in play out of the board.
Yeah, out of commission is definitely what you want this Charizard to be. There's the superior energy retrieval. So we're going to see quite a lot of energy in Matthew's hand, discarding a Boss's Orders and a Professor Turo to activate that particular card. The 2 fighting energy on the top are going to be the only 2 targets for him here. Another thing that Matthew might consider is the Lopunny EX. If he does have access to it, it could potentially be a way to knock out something like Christina's Pheasantipity and potentially a little bit more of an energy-efficient attacker. The big issue there, of course, would be that if he does put down a green prize Pokemon, Christina could so easily win the game just by popping one of those ghosts and playing a Briar.
Super scary. It's a really, really strong attack on the Lopunny. Being able to, as you mentioned, target down Pheasantipity or the Terrapagos, but 3 prize cards in the active is a very, very strong price to pay for having that kind of utility. We're seeing an Arbin come down here for Matthew, eyeing up an Air Balloon, and it looks like a superior energy retrieval as well. An Earthen Vessel behind that. So that's going to give us the extra dig we might need, as there were definitely 2 additional energies in the deck there.
And discarding another boss out of the hand. So Matthew's saying, you know what, I'm not going to need to gust. I'm going to be knocking out the things that are in the active, searching for 2 more energies. One of those a metal that will be able to be attached to the Golden Go. But looking at his hand, it doesn't necessarily look like he's got exactly what he wants. It's one of those situations where Golden Go does draw quite a lot, but sometimes it can fall just that little bit short. We'll see here whether or not we've found the 7 energy to discard with that Golden Go in order to take the big knockout. 2, 4, 6, and 7. There we go. Big knockout on Charizard EX, and moving Matthew to 3 prizes remaining. The question now, can Christina find herself a victory in this turn? The exact same scenario occurred last time, and she couldn't quite reach it. But now we have potentially got more resources and more flexibility to get the big knockout and win the game.
Here's where it becomes really scary. This is probably a little bit better even of a board state than what it was last game, with pulling off this potential Briar play. It is yet again in Christina's grasp to win the game this turn. We're flipping the script to draw 3 cards. If we pull a couple of those combo pieces together, it looks like the Briar might have come off of the script. So if we have Charizard this turn, as well as the quick search, maybe for that Dusknoir, we could be taking the 4 prize cards.
Yeah, it's a really, really good card to draw here. The Briar naturally into the hand. I think it might end up being that Christina's biggest challenge is actually having energy in her deck with which to accelerate. This Charizard obviously only able to accelerate fire energy that are in the deck. And we know that there are not that many, if any, in there. There's 1 fire energy in the hand. Going for a nest ball now just to have a look and see what do we have access to. We've got 1 fire energy in the deck, so the acceleration is possible. Are we able to find all the cards we need with just 1 Pidgeot, with 1 quick search?
I think, thankfully, as we saw last turn, she does have, I think, the 2nd fire in hand, which she drew. So we'll see if this is going to be enough for her to be able to piece it all together. Really just taking the time to think about it. This is what we preached a little bit earlier on in the day. Taking that additional time. You've got, a little bit of time pressure on you, but is it sometimes worth just locking in for an extra 10 seconds or so to make sure that what you're doing is correct and you're going to be leading yourself to the best win conditions possible?
And the big problem for Christina is going to be that there are a couple of routes to victory here. We could see a double Dusclops or a double Dusknoir to knock out the 2 single prizes that are on Matthew's board, and then an attack with Charizard. We could see the Briar play as an option. There are so many different ways that Christina could go about winning this game. And one of the big things that she's gonna be really focusing on is not only how do I win, but also how do I do it quickly. You mentioned it's worth thinking about taking some time to line up the right play, but ultimately you do need to win 2 games of Pokemon to win the round. Is she gonna have enough time to be able to do it?
Yeah, that's a big thing. The time factor for this match is going to be playing a big part if Christina does win. We've gone in and we've grabbed, it looks like the rare candy from the quick search. That's going to be one integral piece that we need. Revealing there is we're going to be going down into that Charizard right now for the Infernal Rain. There it comes down, Infernal Rain grabbing that 1 fire-type energy out of the deck. And then we're going to most likely be seeing that additional attach from hand. If there is that Dusknoir available, she's taking it up to the top. We'll see if she's actually able to pull it together.
Looks like we've got ourselves our attachment. We've got the energy in hand. We can see the Briar there as well. But with the quality of the camera here, unfortunately, we can't see exactly what access she has to other cards. It's one of those situations where if this other Dusclops, this other Duskull was a Hoot, maybe then it would be that little bit easier for Christina to try and get this knockout. Having a bit of a think now. What card do I need to play next to get this combo off? Well, I need to attack. Let's attach an energy to Charizard. We've got the Briar in hand, but we can't use that until we've used our Dusclops. So do we have access to it?
I think she might actually have the Night Stretcher potentially as well in hand. So if she just decides to pop 1 Dusclops, then use the Briar, and then pop another Dusclops by getting back the... It looks like the concessions come through. I think she might explain...
What is going on here? This is something horrific has just happened here.
What is going on?
Briar's been played, but only 3 prizes from Matthew. I'm not 100% certain exactly what's going on. I feel like we might have had a little bit of an error here. Oh, this is such a disappointing way for things to go. Christina, knowing that Briar was the option that she needed to utilize, but playing Briar that turn, not actually a legal play with Matthew on 3 prizes remaining.
Yeah, if you just wanted to pop one of those dust clops, then it would have been more than fine. But yes, taking those 3 prizes to hand, I think may have been an extra amount of information gained. We'll see what the judge ruling is here. Just trying to repair the board state, the Golden Ghost coming back into play, attaching all the cards that were previously on there. We have the stream footage. We can see exactly what's gone on. But for the judges' side of the table over there, it's not as easy as what it is for us to have a top-down view on everything, as well as being able to rewind the clock and see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, the real challenge is going to be that the 3 prizes have been taken. That's going to be a big issue for Christina, and especially at the time of the tournament we are at round 8, you would expect that players would be on top of those issues. I'm not 100% sure exactly what is going to go on here. If there is no outcome for Christina, if she's allowed to continue playing, then it's totally achievable that she can still win this game. But you've got to think that with a prize penalty, that would be an issue. I think we're seeing, is this an Iono here?
I think maybe the recovery of the board state may have actually been, she didn't actually look at the prize cards. They were able to identify exactly which ones would have been the prize cards, and they were able to reestablish those on the board. Now we can backtrack to when the Briar was played. I think that was the only card that was played before the knockout took place. So it's pretty easy for us to repair this board state and leave everybody with all of their double prize penalties intact and not have to mess around with any additional numbers, and we can just continue as we were.
Definitely a really tricky spot. Looks like Matt is going with the retrieval to grab some energy here. I think there must have been a penalty applied there.
Yeah.
We've got a big win for Matthew here. And you've got to say a really kind of anticlimactic way to end what was a really strong set. Christina played exceptionally well and knew exactly what she needed to do, but unfortunately the pressure of the moment seemed to get to her. Matthew being the one who finds his way into day 2 with a record of 5-2-1.
Massive congratulations to Matthew. It would have been so nice to see that Briar play come off. We know what Charizard can do. We know the limits that it has. If they were able to pull that turn together and actually commit to a Briar play, I think that would have been the most exciting moment that we would have had all weekend so far, which it's upsetting that we don't get to see that on stream.
Well, but this is the thing, right? Everyone has those moments. I think Christina should be incredibly proud of the effort that she's put in today. To get so close to that day 2 berth is something to be really proud of. And here's the thing, I've made mistakes like that. We've all made mistakes like that. It's completely reasonable, especially at what time is it? Almost 7 o'clock local time. These players have been playing for almost 12 hours.
It's a long day, very long day.
It certainly is. And in saying that, it's been a long day for us as well, even though we're in a beautifully air-conditioned room and the players are in a less than air-conditioned hall. We've had a fantastic time with you this afternoon. Hopefully you've enjoyed the coverage of day 1 and be ready to come back with us tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8:30 local time, for day 2. We've got ourselves 3 rounds of Swiss, followed by what is it's gearing up to be a really exciting top
Big
8.
day, big day. Really exciting. Really, very exciting.
We couldn't be more excited. Hopefully we can get some sleep tonight, and hopefully you have a fantastic day, or however much of it is left ahead of you. We are going to head off for the evening. Thank you very much for watching our community stream of the Pokemon TCG Regional Championships here in Sydney. We look forward to seeing you for day 2 tomorrow.